YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We have something new and super exciting. A nice small pair of EDFs today on this Messerschmitt 262, all new from E-flite. It is an ultra micro ME262. Today we're flying it without the gear and with a 600 milliamp hour 3S. That's a new size, I believe. It's not a smart pack, but it is branded in the same Spectrum packaging, so it looks like it's smart. Now, if you fly with the alternative offering of 850 milliamp hours 3S, that is a smart battery, and yes, it will put it over the 250 gram weight limit. So just keep that in mind. We decided for that reason to go ahead and pull the gear, use the provided skid plates for our maiden voyage with this beautiful plane. Now, full disclosure, this is a product sample, hence the scratches, but this is our first flight. So keep in mind when we do our unbox build radio setup. Oh, and we did add this little ditty, which is not supposed to be in there. We added some spoilerons. May not be necessary, but either way, we're gonna find out really quick, and we have just very light wind. So we're gonna go ahead and get our throttle cut off. We're gonna get ourselves set into safe for our launch, and we're gonna go full throttle, and we're gonna launch it that direction because the wind is sort of non-existent right this second. Full throttle, there we go. Oh yeah, super easy getting in the air.
Wow.
Out of safe, the thing is rock solid already. Not even a click of trim, and I feel totally in control. Very easy flying, confused winds only from the thermals and the beautiful summer weather. Oh yeah, we have some good ups on this, guys. Reminds me of the power on the F-86, only double. Got to admit, really powerful 5-minute flight timer. We do have a very soft elevator on this airplane, but it is fast. Really good speed for an ultra micro extreme. And I gotta say, this thing is extreme because it is fast, but it does slow down nicely. And I'm just gonna show you right now. We're gonna bring it in at about 10% throttle, 15%, barely giving it any throttle. And look at that gorgeous ground effect. The thing doesn't even care what the throttle condition is. It's just gonna do it. And it's gonna do it well up. And we'll do a kind of a weird janky loop so we avoid the sun for the camera crew so she doesn't kill me. And I gotta say, soft on the sticks, the thing is very reserved. Now, I do have my 600 milliamp hour battery all the way forward, as far forward as you can stick it in the hole, okay? So we'll do a barrel roll here. Oh yeah, real easy. I kind of forced it a little bit. That was about 30% on the ailerons, lots of aileron deflection, but we do have differential, which is part of the reason why you'll see a lot of waffling on my flaperon setup, because I tried getting flaperons, but they have this mechanically set up to not have hardly any downward movement on the ailerons. So, as you can probably imagine, the mechanical differential is how they're achieving it. So if you go in and try to set up dual ailerons, as opposed to one aileron and one flap, after holding the sticks down and to the left for your throttle and up and to the right. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
For your right stick, then you are basically going to then flip between safe and AS3X over and over again until you see a conditional change, and you'll see it, you'll know it, you'll hear it, and then you'll know you can go in and change your wing type or aircraft type, depending on if you're using a DX or an NX. Aircraft type in the NX. Love the way it looks. Visibility definitely suffers a little bit just because of the nature of the trim livery. I was getting a little nervous there at the top of that turn because I really pushed it close to the tree line, and I really am concerned about landing because I love this plane so far. It's flying dang good. Inside pass here. We're gonna slow it way down. We're gonna do a cross right over the UPS stick. Anti-UPS stick. Slows down nicely, beautiful sun. Helps to make that thing pop up against the green trees, but I fear that in the right conditions, the top of this plane is gonna wanna disappear against the right trees, but that's the way the Germans designed it so that they would be able to come in and do attacks. And that's why the bottom is blue and the top is green. Pretty cool. And I gotta say, the fact that we have a twin that's just rock solid in an ultra micro form is just second to none. Gotta love it. And it's also sub 250, which makes it legal to fly with no stupid remote ID. But if you decide you wanted to fly it with a remote ID, you could go up to the 850, and the remote ID is quite light if you get the Sky module from Horizon Hobby. We'll show you exactly how to set that up if you've never seen how to do it. We don't suggest you do it necessarily. We just suggest you do whatever the heck you're gonna do. And if you do it, you can use our instructions to help you get the job done. But if you fly in a Freya, you can make that thing heavier and be just totally fine. Also, wheels up, wheels down are gonna be great on this plane, I can already tell. I wanna see how the Spoilerons react. Okay, so Spoileron click 1, Spoileron click 2. Oh man, that does actually slow it down surprisingly well. And it also changes the angle of attack up, which means we need to bring in a little bit more elevator mix, and our wind is going to be helpful on this one. You see what's going on with that wind? Probably don't need Spoilerons there. Click, we're going to do the takeoff flaps. Now the landing flaps, really got to force that nose down. But look at that, just absolutely gorgeous, slows it down beautifully. Guys, we're going to do that again. That's our 5-minute timer. I could scroll over a couple of clicks, but I think I'm just going to try to take a landing. There's our takeoff flaps. Here's our landing flaps. We're going to do an inside pass, let that thing slow down, bleed off some inertia. And I'm going to get into the throttle. I just feel like it wants to glide forever. So I might do a different line. We got a little bit of an angular attack from the wind. We're going to go up over the tree line. Okay, here we go. Trading off some altitude for airspeed here, and we're going to increase the drag with those Spoilerons. Actually bleed off lift is how that works. Lots of down elevator to get that thing down to planet Earth. And I'm just like, we're just gonna have to take the taller grass. There we go, an absolutely flawless landing. Had no problems other than the fact that it was totally not on the runway. Throttle cuts on, camera crew is gonna stay put. I'm gonna go into the shadow of the camera crew. Move your hand, thank you. Nope, I'm gonna go into the shadow of the camera crew. And we still have 30% power left. Wow. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this thing adjusted, because I feel like those Spoilerons are actually really helpful. So if you guys wanna see exactly how we did it, stay tuned or check out our Unbox build radio setup. Our Unbox build radio setups are usually connected to the same video when it is an ultra micro extreme plane. So in this case, camera crew, if you wanna come over here for a second, I'm gonna scroll down to flap system. And instead of 18%, I'm gonna go like minus 30, okay? And I felt like this could use a little bit more. So why don't we do, let's do minus 20, and let's do minus 35. That should get us closer to where we want to be. We have enough juice. I could probably run one more test, but as you can see, with that much deflection for the Spoilerons, camera crew, if you could hold that for me, please, right there. Okay, all the way down to neutral. Very good performance. Super happy with the way this thing flies. And what I'd like to do, let's go ahead and take one more sorties on the 600 milliamp hour. Lighter on its feet than it's going to be if we go obviously with an 850. You don't have to necessarily have the gear on with the 850, but you're gonna exceed the weight limit by like about 10 grams or so, plus or minus a few, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna relaunch. We're gonna come in and try to land it on the runway here, which would be the grass in this case, and we'll see how this goes. Underhand toss, this time safe is on. Full throttle, I'm gonna launch it that way. It seems like the wind is probably right there. Oh yeah, with safe, it makes it so easy. Okay. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna go out here, camera crew. You good?
Yep.
Back to normal position, please. All right, here we go. Let's take off flaps, landing flaps. Oh yeah, way better. I could still use just a little bit more. And there it is, guys. We flipped over, but no damage at all. I could see it was a really light, soft touchdown. But I'm gonna go from 35 on flap system. I'm gonna just kick that right up to 40. So it's gonna be minus 42, and I'm gonna go minus 25 for takeoff flaps, okay? So when I say takeoff flaps and landing flaps, it's a little weird to have two settings for Spoilerons, because generally you're gonna use the spoilers for one thing, and that is to get it to the ground. In this case, it's kind of nice because it really does act like having flaps. And since we're not wheels up, wheels down, it doesn't matter. But when we put the wheels on, I might kind of long for flaps. All right, so throttle cuts off. Camera crew's gonna hold this and she's gonna stay put. I'm gonna scroll over and just double check. You can see we've got a little bit of juice left. Hard to see in the sun on camera, but very easy to see in real life. I haven't seen a single telemetry warning or heard a single telemetry warning, so we're gonna go ahead and take off in safe. Again, works really nice. Throttle cuts off, full throttle, wait for the throttle, and then give her a toss. There it is. And we'll see how that turns out. Guys, throttle cut, that was a personal issue, and so don't blame the plane, but it was definitely my fault. I'm out of safe now, my throttle cut is on. Everything is still working. And we're gonna show you if we broke anything. I really hope we didn't, and I don't think we did, because as you can see, these skid plates actually did their exact job. I cannot believe how lucky we got. That was a huge, embarrassing failure. Okay, I'm gonna do an AS3X launch this time just for fun. Both are working, here we go. Okay, there we go. So that was a terrible launch, and I just wanna talk about that for a second. My flaps were on takeoff setting, which is gonna spoil the lift. The lift is gonna be spoiled by spoilers, and so there's no reason I should have had my takeoff flaps on because they are for landing only. Just double checking my control surfaces, and I think I know what I did. On landing, you see the rudder?
Oh.
I think I broke that little piece of tape right there. So I gotta glue that back on. Once I glue that back on, that should make the rudder work again. But since we're pretty much dead on power, I think we're gonna take a second, we're gonna go inside, we'll swap out batteries, we'll fix that and come right back and we'll show you the second flight. Okay, so we're inside after that launch, the failed launch attempt, and I think this is what happened, is that the rudder was loose, or maybe that happened on the second launch. But I can tell you the only damage we sustained beyond that is just a little bit of grass marking our nacelle, which is insane. That is really, really unexpected. I thought for sure we were gonna have this thing destroyed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how I'll fix it. And obviously I'm hoping you don't have to fix this yourself, but I'm gonna grab a paper towel. I'm gonna use some foam to foam here, which is a China glue type. And I really like this China glue. There's a couple of different brands that we use that work well. This is what you'd be getting if you're buying this plane. So if you don't have any, I'd get this. You just order it when you order the plane. By the way, if you're ordering this plane, check it out. It's in the links of the video description below. That's how you can support Brian Phillips RC, one of the best ways. Okay, just put it in the chair. All right, so my objective is to get that thing reattached and keep the color from the tape that's separated, okay? So you can see what's happened there. So my goal is I'm gonna take some of this stuff. I wanna pull this back. I got a little bit too much. So I got this little puddle here, okay? It's clear, it's hard to see. So I'm just gonna pull this back. And I'm gonna pull it back all the way, and then I'm gonna work this with just a little bit of glue. Camera crew's gonna stay back far enough I don't bump her every time. Okay, and I'm gonna take and just slather that on there real thick. Now this stuff, usually the best way to do it is to let it tack up. But in this case, I'm gonna take the clean side that doesn't have glue on it. I'm just gonna come in here and pull that and stick it back down, okay? Then I'm gonna take and pull this out. You see how it's pulling out? Right here. See how it's pulling out? Okay, so that's the next thing I wanna fix. And you can see it's gonna pull out, but it's only gonna pull out until this glue is set. So I'm gonna grab and pick up on both sides of this Q-tip, and I'm just gonna slide it in here and just kind of slather this glue in there. I'm a little concerned I'm not gonna be able to reach. I'm not gonna get penetration. So what I'll do is I'll take the clean side, I'm gonna pull it off and make a smaller tip. And that smaller tip is gonna allow me to do the exact same thing, only on the other side of the Q-tip so I can fit it into that opening. Just a little smear of glue, not a lot more. Doesn't take hardly any. Okay, I'm just gonna work that around. Okay, pull the rudder back, get inside of here. Okay, and I'm just gonna work that and just get that glue slathered in there pretty liberally. Okay, so you see I've got that in there on both sides. Now I can pull it out. You see I pulled out that tape, and I'm just gonna get it spread on there. I'm gonna spread it on both surfaces. Cam Crew, are you just going from the top, or are you gonna show them from the side, or what?
I'm going from the top because your hands aren't in the way as much.
Okay, so then I'm gonna take and let this dry for just a second, and what we're gonna do is while that's drying for just a second, the idea is with foam to foam, and same thing with any China glue formula, is you wanna let it dry because it becomes a contact adhesive. So I'd order some of this if you don't have any. And it doesn't take much when you don't have very much of it, okay? If you put a lot on there, it's gonna take a long time to dry, okay? So now that that's set up for just a second, I'm gonna take this rudder and I'm gonna basically re-secure it by pushing it tight into the joint. And I'm just gonna pull or push those rudders right where they belong. And as that glue tacks up, that will actually hold even more firm. And if you look from the side here, you can see what I'm talking about. We're basically just reattaching it on both sides to the glue joint, okay? So it'd been nice to see a little bit more robust hinge, but to be honest with you, I lucked out because the way that that plane came down, it came down and didn't break. If it was more robust, it might have broke. All right, so our next move on this plane is I would have liked to continue launching on the same setup, but we've already demoed 2 good launches and then 2 failed launches. So what have we learned? Get it in safe. You're gonna be better off in safe. Okay, also, I made these really simple tape straps that go around the battery so that I could share between the 2 different battery sizes. Now we're gonna show you without landing gear. We'll go ahead and swap this, but before we do that, let's show you what we got for battery left. As you can see, the battery status is good. So we're going to unplug this. We never hit low voltage protection at all. We never saw any sort of oscillation or pulsing or anything. Okay, so we can pull that off. You can see that little strap. Same exact scenario. If you were to get a couple of these 600 milliamp hours, then you could fly that with the gear, right? Mm-hmm. So we showed it without the gear. So while we're flying, we're going to go ahead and put this onto the charger. In this case, I'm using the S155. Now this is not a smart pack, so all you have to do is just plug it in like a standard battery, press start. I'm at 2.4 amps, so that's fine because this thing can charge as fast as 3 amps. That would be a lot. But in this case, that would be 5C, by the way. So 600 milliamp hours times 5 would be 30 or 3 amps, okay? So these ones you can charge even faster. And by the way, if you didn't know that about these batteries, it says right on there, max charge rate, 5C, 4.25 amps. So this one, you can charge it however fast or slow you want. I generally charge at 1C if I can. If I have plenty of time, I'll charge this at 0.8 amps or 0.9 amps or something like that, okay? So now also the lead is plenty long to go either way, but I like to put the 850s right on the strap, okay? So now why would you use an 850 with no gear? Well, you would use an 850 with no gear because you want a longer flight time, okay? Also, check your CG. I've marked my CG on the top of the wing. We'll show that in the Unbox Build radio setup. But if you want to be fully above board legal and less sub 250, then you're going to have to use a 600. So we'll have that ready for when we do wheels up, wheels down at the end. But we're going to do one flight with the 850. So I'm going to plug this in, let it re-energize. Also, this goes into an automatic binding process when it's brand new. So if you see it flashing red, green, or red, blue, that's the binding process if it hasn't quite connected yet. Okay, it's obviously connected. We have telemetry and we're live. Checking. Okay, so the flaperons, make sure you don't accidentally turn the spoilerons in this case on for your launch. That may have contributed to my failed launches. That and then the rudder, which we're gonna look at here in a second. Also, I wanna talk about the fit of the canopy / top, okay? So you've got these 2 fingers that come down and they hit about here. See where they hit? So you gotta be mindful of your cable, how it straps in there. So I like to put it right up on top and I've got this battery holding by that strap, okay? So if you don't believe me, what I'll do is I'll flip the plane over and you can see it's got a little bit of weight, but it holds that battery, okay? So there's also a pretty big, strong magnet here and then a clip up front. This goes into plastic, okay? So it's plastic to plastic, so it's quite strong and robust. Now you can have this battery either way, which is kind of handy, okay? So I'm just gonna give that a quick loop. One thing you wanna be careful about is you don't wanna break these solder joints over time when you're flying this plane a lot, okay? So just be gentle with your wires as you load these ultra micros, and also make sure that you get these cables so they're not gonna be in a pinch point where they stop this from actually going all the way on properly. Because you see what's happened there? Show the people from the side.
A little bit of a gap.
You see the gap? Mm-hmm. Pretty obvious, right?
Yep.
But it's not so obvious if you're in a hurry, so you want to be super careful. By the way, these gun ports are actually opened, so they do let air through, which is pretty sweet. So I'm going to try putting this off to the side. I'm going to try seeing if I can reach this all the way down like that. And I want to be careful not to damage my board. And it does make for a pretty tight squeeze, but you can do it. You see how I did that? Mm-hmm. Now if I put this on, look at the gap now.
Yep, much better.
There's no gap now, okay? So pay special attention to that. Now also, when you get ready to put on your landing gear, I want to point out there are two pieces to each. They're labeled right and left. And then of course the nose gear. These clip in separately from the actual landing gear. So if you're going to pull them out, make sure you pull them at separate times, otherwise you're going to damage something. And also look at that huge nose gear adapter. Really good that we finally have that. Plastic to plastic to plastic. That's good. That's a good protected. And to be honest with you, that plane should have been broke because of that failed launch, but it's not. So up next, we're gonna be outside. We're gonna walk out there, we're gonna fly wheels up with 850. Oh, but let's check CG quick. So you see my marks, 40 to 48 millimeters back. Okay, so 40 to 48 millimeters back with it just right over the strap location. We tend to be just slightly close to the tail heavy side. And what I would suggest is, you can see where my battery is. It's just mostly centered in that opening. I'm gonna just go with the centered in the opening because I felt like the thing flew pretty good, although it could have been a little bit more tail heavy because I felt like it was a little soft on the elevator in our 600 milliamp hour flight. However, the more tail heavy you get, the more you're gonna have to launch with some speed. So I have to be a little bit more careful. The underhanded launch was probably not the best idea, except it keeps it closer to the ground. So if something goes wrong, you can skid right to the stop and it's no problem. Also, you'll notice that when I flipped it, on my second landing, we didn't experience any damage because you got a really strong vertical stabilizer, okay? So that's nice. Now let's reevaluate this now that it's had a couple of seconds to set up and cure and do all of its good stuff the glue has. Oh yeah, that's gonna be really good now. I think we're good now. I think we're totally safe to go ahead and fly this again, so we'll see you on the other side outside. All right, so 850 milliamp hours, no gear, safe is on, throttle cuts off. We're gonna see how this does. Full throttle, we're gonna launch that direction. Yeah, just don't be afraid to give it full throttle, guys. Safe really does make it super easy. So now on 850 milliamp hours, beautiful flight performance. Feels like unlimited vertical, but I know it's really not. I was carrying a lot of speed into that last maneuver. We're gonna go out over here. Beautiful clouds today. Very bright though. Inside pass, you good? Mm-hmm. Inside. Absolutely gorgeous, folks. These ultra micros, they'll get away from you though. The beautiful thing is, if they really do, look, safe. They're safe, folks. Just going around in a nice big circle. Got nothing bad to say about it. Very wide on the turning radius though. Okay, out of safe, can't handle it anymore. Love the blue bottom. So beautiful. And so as you can see, the thing just does amazing. Now, it does fly a lot like the F-86 in that it's, for being a small plane, it feels heavy, it feels refined, it feels tight. But also, I just want to say it recovers really quick when you do stupid things, unless it's close to the ground and then you crash. And let's try a stall turn here. Oh yeah, good rudder authority too. Even up in the air like that in a stall. A little bit of light pressure on the elevator to keep it upside down. Let's see if we can demonstrate that here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's pretty heavy on the pressure. That dihedral makes it really feel understable upside down, but it's not designed to fly upside down generally, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure it's designed to handle it. And it's not dead calm. It seems pretty calm out here, but I just think we're feeling some light breeze in our face right now. It just comes and goes, kind of confused. Definitely manageable. AS3X is keeping up, no problem, but you definitely feel it. Now, what I want to try is I want to try the spoilers now that we're flying with the bigger pack, okay? There's the first click and the second click. Just feels like, you know what it is? I am wrong in my correction direction, hun. Because I increased it and now it's worse.
Okay.
So that means what I need to do is I actually need to run the correction less than. That is so weird. Because it's ballooning. So what that means is I'll have to probably just manually counter it, and the wind is going now from another direction. Let's try it. Let's just bring it in. Let's just try it without. Oh boy, that was way closer to the ground than I thought I was. And let's see if it damaged. So guys, I was saying when we first unboxed this, I said, boy, I'm just gonna leave the gear on because this thing is gorgeous. But then here it is. All my maiden flights are gonna be with wheels up, excuse me, with no wheels, okay? So you can see my battery slip forward a little bit. Camera crew's gonna hold this for me. I'm gonna slip that back just a hair. Undo the Velcro, and the Velcro stuck. You'll have that once in a while. I'm gonna press this back down, see if I could get my wires back to where it was. I felt like everything was more or less going well, with the exception of, what was it, camera crew? It was our elevator correction in our flaperons, which by the way, flaperons are not actually recommended by the manufacturer, and that's okay, because I still want them anyway. So we're doing spoilerons, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna jump into the menu real quick here. I'm gonna click, scroll down to flap system. Can you see it?
I can.
I'm gonna take out the correction. I'm gonna actually go the normal way, so we'll do 10 and 15, and we'll see what it looks like. We have lots of battery left. I forgot to clear my timer, admittedly. They recommend a 5-minute timer, which is pretty low, if you ask me, because we have about 35–45% left on our battery power. So I think we're good to go. We're gonna go ahead and get a couple more sorties in here. But just remember, I always, when I'm doing a hand launch, I sometimes decide I'm not gonna do full throttle for some stupid reason. Wind is coming this direction. So that's the direction we need to launch. So I wanna walk over here and just have the bull as a backup plan. No takeoff flaps. I am gonna go to safe again because it's just been working good. And I'm gonna go full throttle instead of doing this half mamby-pamsy whamsy stuff like I do sometimes. Full throttle. There we go. Out of safe almost immediately. And just gorgeous. You're good where you are.
Okay.
Boy, that thing looks so good in the air, doesn't it?
It does.
It's got good speed to it, but it's not sluggish on any of the surfaces. It's just exactly what you expect it to be, guys. And I can't get enough of those low passes, folks. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring it into the wind, which means I gotta get out on this circuit, come back to the same circuit, and I'm gonna try my takeoff flaps and landing flaps, which are actually spoilerons. So clicking in one click of spoilers here. One click of landing flaps here. Landing spoilerons. That is so strange. Hard on the throttle, a little bit of rudder to kick that thing around. Beautiful. Guys, what a great plane. I don't even think you need the spoilerons, but you know what? It's still fun to have them. So I'm gonna try again. take off spoilers. Man, that thing is carrying so much speed. See, that's the problem, is when you're flying around, you don't think about how fast you're going because the thing just looks so dang good. I'm gonna try a slip this time. I'm just gonna do no flaps. Just try a slip, see if we can get that thing to behave nicely for me. Inside, by the cherry. Gosh, that thing just carries so much speed.
Yeah, it does.
You see that hawk that came over the tree line?
Yeah.
I wonder if he's like tempting fate with the 262. Oh, there's little birds attacking it now. Okay, I'm gonna do a loop up here, bleed off some of my inertia. Look how fast it is though, dang. I mean, I don't want to get it to where it stalls, but I do want to slow it down a lot. See how fast it is? Dang, it's just going, like going.
So it's quite a bit faster on that 850.
Well, it's because it's heavier. Okay, I'm gonna go around the cherry this time, like I should have in the first place. I'm gonna go down, let me bleed off more inertia. There we go. We'll get it this time. There we go. Ah, I just didn't want to flip it. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say. My flap system, I just gotta say, my flaps, I'm gonna come into my own shadow here. Why'd you go to that side? The flap system, I'm gonna actually turn this. I honestly, it's just one of those things where it's not giving me clear indicators. So I'm gonna just go way overboard. So 20 and 25%. And we're gonna see if that helps with the spoilerons. Camera crew is gonna stay put, we're gonna relaunch. Okay, so we're gonna launch this way this time. And I'm gonna go into safe again. I'm gonna go full throttle. There it is, out of safe. I really wanna get this flap thing figured out, folks, because I feel like it's gonna help a lot of you. Okay, take off flaps. There's landing flaps. Wow, even with the spoilerons on, it's like pretty much holding its same position. That's really good. So here's takeoff flaps. No, that's landing flaps, guys. That's perfect. We got it perfect, guys.
There, that's good.
Yes. So what do we need? 0 for takeoff or for normal flight. 25% minus for spoilerons, for takeoff spoilerons, which gets you in kind of like your final. And then 100% minus for landing flaps, which are spoilerons. And then the elevator mix is gonna be 20 and 25 positive. So that means, all right, so our phone overheated. I was just getting ready to say, now that we finally have this worked out, we can go ahead and go in and we'll switch back to the 600. We'll go ahead and put the landing gear on and we'll go from there. So our 850 is, we still had a little bit of juice left, but we finally got the flap set up. So now that you guys can see, I'll go to flap system. This is what I was trying to say out loud. So that's what you'll do to get your spoilers to work. And then that brought it in nice and level. I'm clearing my timer, which I forgot to do. I put in a 600, I'm ready to plug it in. So I'll go ahead and throttle cut and we're gonna put this thing in. It's gonna start up, it's gonna boot, and then once we're done booting, we'll go ahead and install our landing gear, okay? So wait for that red, yep. You wanna make sure that stops before you start playing with it because you don't want the gyro to initiate and have the wrong position in mind, okay? So the way you do this is there's a left and a right, okay? So the left, the thing points forward like that, okay? So it's pretty easy to put these in. They snap in, okay? Just like that. And then the landing gear, they're gonna go in like this. So you can do whichever one you want first. They snap back. They're really easy to get in. They're a little harder to get out. And then you have to snap the side, just pushes on. So I usually hold the bushing and then snap it, okay? So you see this little clip here, that's what you're snapping into from the side. Okay, so on the right side, arrow goes forward, snap it in. Again, I've only done this a couple of times, so it's like, I'm not really expert in it, but I know that I can get it to work. Just remember, if you try to do it all at once, it's not gonna work, okay? You'll break something, okay? So you've got nice, robust landing gear. They are squishy. They're kind of like a softer foam, but they're not super, super soft. So you have to worry about them breaking on you. So this one I'll slide in first, and then this clips in with a little bit of forward and backward play, and then it snaps like that. So you have a little bit more drag here, so keep in mind. And then also, because I had some unscheduled landings when I was doing hand launching, we had some rough landings. But I gotta say, for being wheels up, wheels down, the thing looks gorgeous. I just feel like many times jets with landing gear that are fixed look pretty bad. On the F-86, I felt like we got away with it because they were so short and they just they weren't noticeable. On this plane, they're pretty big. The nacelles hide the mains a lot, but they don't hide the nose gear very well. And also, I just wanna say, thank you, Horizon, for adapting soft wheels. Soft wheels makes a big difference on flyability, and we've been seeing that on almost every new release, which is much appreciated.
And the nice thing is, it is completely toolless. So if you get to the field and you wanna take them off or put them back on.
It is technically toolless, and also this is legal, this is sub 250. So if you put in the 850 milliamp hour, then you're gonna be over the weight limit, just so you know. So then you'd have to either fly in a FRIA, or you'd have to put in a remote ID module, or you'd just be out of compliance, which I don't really care what you guys do. It doesn't matter. Nope. But that being said, we're gonna get out to the flight line and take off, so stay tuned. All right, so throttle cuts on. I wanna make a note. I'm not gonna put on my flaps because those spoilers are only designed for landing. They're not gonna improve our circumstances for takeoff at all. So takeoff flaps are not on. Throttle. Here we go, very good ground handling. Oh yes, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I want so badly to flip the gear. Okay, so as you can see, very good flight performance, 600 milliamp hour all the way forward. And the landing gear don't look that bad, but they're definitely there, and it definitely shows up. Let's try wheels down. Just gliding. Got wind to help now. Whoa, buddy. Okay, so the grass helped even more. So throttle cuts on. As you could see, we got kind of veered off course by some wind. And yes, I was fighting it as much as I can. No damage, no scraping. So we're gonna try again. What we're feeling is a crosswind that's pretty aggressive, and it's about this angle. So let's take off again. Obviously, we have plenty of runway. We already demonstrated that from our first takeoff. Beautiful takeoff.
That's really pretty.
Dang it, I wish there were retracts, because that is so dang good. I'm gonna go the other way this time. Yeah. I'm gonna turn into the wind. I'm gonna relax the throttle. I'm gonna go by the fox killing zone, eagle killing zone, and bring it downhill. And if you're careful about the way you do your demonstration passes, you can hide the landing gear. Okay, take off flaps now, landing flaps. Look at that, so much more tame, guys. Okay, we're gonna turn it into a touch and go. And as you can see, the thing is super flyable with the landing gear. It's actually quite a bit easier to fly because I don't have that fear that the nacelles are gonna catch in a funny way, like we've had happen twice now. Well, technically, one of them at least was a bad hand launch. So yeah, you got plenty of power to get up and over, but it's not like an unlimited vertical kind of scenario. You see, it's really topped out at the top of the arc of those loops, okay? Now that doesn't mean you can't, do some nice scale looking barrel rolls and light aerobatics, but the truth is, if you wanna see this thing fly with impunity, what you wanna do is take the gear off. It's just gonna be one of those planes. I gotta say, jets are just like that. I do love that they made accommodations with that hard plastic on the bottom of the nacelles, because that was a very, very good decision by Horizon Hobby and E-flite in this case. Okay, so takeoff flaps, landing flaps with a very light amount of power, about 10% power. Just look at this, guys. Beautiful landings, guys, very easy. Those spoilerons really improve the landing. Okay, let's show you one without now and see if maybe after a couple of practices, it's just me getting better, or maybe the wind conditions are better. Let's try. This is gonna be without, so I'll have a little bit of slip probably. Trying to do about the same setup, a little bit longer approach this time. Get over the trees, Brian. Slip, 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 slip. Slip, gotta get into the throttle. There it is, and you see I dropped the tip. Okay, so taking off again. Love the touch and goes. You can just easily convert your landing into a touch and go. So guys, if you're into the Messerschmitt 262 from E-flite, this ultra micro extreme UMX plane here, twin 30 millimeter EDFs, full landing flaps now. Look at this, guys, beautiful. Put that thing down, keep the nose wheel right up. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Getting right into the power. Stall turn here, hard on the throttle on the way downhill for a high-speed pass. Very soft on the elevator, guys. This thing is very easy to fly. It reminds me a lot of the F-86, folks. Woo! Almost bit it there, making a mistake. Had a little bit of wind helping with that. Around the cherry, and then high-speed pass. Presentation to hide those big ugly gear, which actually are not ugly. They look scale. I like them, but I don't like them down. Here we go, guys. Drop the wingtip that time too.
Just gotta fly
That
it.
was with flaps.
Fly it to the ground.
Gotta fly it to the ground. That's what the camera crew is saying. So she's usually right.
Because I can't actually do it, but I can watch you do it.
Okay, so here we go. We'll slow it down this time. Okay, takeoff flaps now. We'll just do takeoff flaps. Nice, very good. Now into the throttle hard. And there's our 5-minute timer coming up. This is 600 milliamp 3S. Gotta say, really impressed with the flight characteristics of this plane. Is it perfect? No. Is there such a thing? A plane
Also
that is
no.
perfect? Also no. Okay, full landing flaps this time. Look how tight you can get your landings with those spoilers. Guys, that is a lot better. And I gotta say, good ground handling. Oh, we lost our nose gear thingy.
We did.
Okay, so throttle cuts on. I'm gonna scroll over and check our battery status. We are at about 20%, maybe 15, 20% here on battery left. So, let's see how this popped out. Probably just popped out because I hit the ground a little too hard. Okay, so I'm gonna push that back down in. I hope that didn't happen from our initial takeoff. It may have. Oh! No, it's not broken, is it?
It
No.
just unclip.
I wonder if I never snapped it hard enough.
Snapped it.
I don't know that I got it snapped. Guys, we're gonna do one more sorties. I wanna make sure that doesn't have any impact on flight performance. Okay, takeoff flaps are off. Here we go. Hard on the throttle. Forcing the roll that time just a little bit as we engaged our perfect takeoff speed. Look at this, guys, inside pass. Guys, very controllable, very easy to fly. You're gonna love this thing, just get it. Stop talking about it and get it. Buy one from the links in the video description below. You're gonna love it. Guys, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. I got excited and thought I was flying again. Ooh, voltage alarm. Haha, very nice. She's telling me things. I don't know what she says. Okay, full landing flaps here. Now that our phone has stopped being overheated, the FET temperature is the next issue.
It's getting close though again.
So there you have it, guys. Without further ado,
Beautiful.
we'll give you a beautiful pass. Now also, we asked early on in our Unbox build radio setup, is there gonna be differential thrust? If there's differential thrust, I certainly don't hear it. 50% throttle, nothing happening. Full yaw, nothing happening, nothing happening. So there is no differential thrust. I don't think you need it on this plane. It would be kind of cool if you did. So I'm not sure if we could steal the firmware out of the 8. Well, what's the plane that does have differential thrust? You know what? I'm thinking of a different plane.
Yeah.
But all I've got to say is I love this thing. It flies great. It's exceptional without the gear. And even with the gear, amazing wheels up, wheels down experience. Soft tires make the difference, folks. If you're manufacturing these planes and you're not putting soft tires on, why are you not doing it? Throttle cuts on, okay? Start doing it. There's no excuses from now on. You've been told by me and everybody else that has ever tried them. The only problem with soft tires is if you store the plane on soft tires, you can get a flat spot if they sit for years and years and years like that. So go fly them, and then the flat spot will get worked out in like one flight. Problem solved. But guys, I gotta say, beautiful plane. 2 problems we had with this plane. 1, we had an aileron that was acting funny. I haven't noticed it in flight. there's been some herks and jerks, but it's quite windy up there, so I can't necessarily manifest it as that problem. Secondly, our dude jumped out of his seat during transportation. I used some tools to put our dude, our pilot figurine, back in position, and he's just chilling like a villain right there, hasn't moved at all, which is kind of crazy because we had a couple of rough landings.
Yeah.
Actually had a crash landing over here on the runway. So really, really happy with this ME-262. E-flite, as always, you're here, you're doing a great job. We love the product. Couple things I miss on this plane that I'd love to see, guys, would be some beautiful, juicy LEDs. Other things I would love to see, flaps, inboard flaps. Flaps on this plane would be super cool. I remember a time when I put flaps on a plane that didn't have flaps, and they were gorgeous, okay? And those flaps were on the Aero Commander, and they had nacelles like this that had to be split, and boy, oh boy,
right.
were they gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it made that thing fly like a feather, okay? Now, do you need flaps on this plane to fly good? No. Do I want them? Still yes. Does that mean this is a deal breaker for me? Absolutely not. I love this plane. It's still very good, okay? But the same is true of many ultra micro extremes. We finally have an EDF that doesn't squeal and cause tinnitus for everybody within a 10 square mile radius.
Yeah.
Secondly, they produce a lot of thrust and they don't overheat immediately and they don't scream. Oh, the scream is so obnoxious. That 28 millimeter size class sucked.
Yeah.
It was so obnoxious. You didn't have enough power. And plus we were running everything on 2S and this is 3S. So I'm like really tempted to ask somebody, have you caught yours on fire with 4S yet? I'm curious what it would do. I'm guessing they already checked that out because they have a different size battery in here. And if you're gonna release a different size battery, it's probably because it's the right size for the job.
Yeah.
Now, disappointments, furthermore on this plane, very close to weight limits. I really wish we could have saved 7 or 8 grams on this plane. And I wonder what pilot figurine weighs, because to be honest with you, it'd be really nice to save 7 grams and then be legal, wheels up, wheels down with the 850 milliamp 3S pack. Just saying, it'd be nice to see. A lot of toss-up remarks on this plane, but I'm gonna tell you, at the end of the day, I really like it. It is very good. It goes in the package, all in one piece. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to change it. It's just done, okay? You pull it out of the package, you're ready to fly. You don't even have to put the gear on, which is really nice. Good job, Horizon, on that. Good job on the paint. It's beautiful. It does blend a little bit much with the trees that we have here. We must look a little bit like Germany here.
It's kind of the way it's supposed to be though, right?
I think a snow scheme would be nice.
That'd be cool
But
too.
then we'll probably get that about the time we have snow
Like
on the
November,
trees.
yeah.
Okay? So the truth is, if this thing came in a snow scheme or like a gray and white, would be perfect for this time of year, and then opposite during the winter,
Yeah.
you'd want the green, okay? I think it's just a really well done, well-rounded plane. Is it perfect? No. What plane is perfect, guys? That's why we do these reviews on Brian Phillips RC, because otherwise you could just listen to all the marketing information and you would just know it's totally true and clean and pure as the wind-driven snow, which you know it's not, okay? What things do I love about this plane most? Probably the power, probably the fact that it's super easy to load the battery. I love that. It fits good. You don't have to do a bunch of weird modifications. And one more complaint has been overturned, and that is it is a new battery, okay? If you want the 850, I don't think a lot of people have that size. It was kind of a weirdity. We had them for, I think, a helicopter. I can't even remember why we had them. It was some helicopter. But they do work. They are smart batteries. They'll self-balance, which is nice. We have telemetry, so we know what's going on when we're flying. It's super bright, so it's kind of hard for us to actually show you on the screen because the sun kind of shades. I can always see it in person perfectly fine.
Definitely.
But you guys definitely have a hard time seeing when we videotape that.
Yeah.
So in total, great experience, wonderful plane, longer than usual by a long shot, unbox build radio setup, mostly because we do that thing, okay?
Yep.
And by the way, they do still work in all 3 modes. We didn't give up AS3X or Safe on either of the surfaces. Safe does work. It's very good for hand launches. So really, what's there not to like about this plane? a couple things that we want more of, but really they did a good job on everything they did on this plane.
And it's a different, I mean, there are other ME-262s out there in bigger size classes.
Yeah, they're a lot bigger.
It's not a super common plane, so it's...
Well, especially with twin EDFs.
Yeah.
And by the way, these EDFs put out a lot of power. So I'm happy, but they're also efficient. It's not a battery chewer. We haven't pulled the batteries and said, ho, ho, ha, ha.
Right.
You know, so we're not worried about destroying the batteries, which is really nice, because there's nothing worse than buying an expensive plane and then just chewing through batteries like crazy. So also, I think in one of my crashes, I think I might have bent this wing just a hair, because I just noticed this little cracky line.
Hairline.
But the thing that's weird is like, it's not like it's totally broke. So I don't know if I got a hairline fracture. I'll probably put some like thin CA in there and just hold it. I don't know. It feels solid still. So I think that's just because they did such a good job of reinforcing this wing, where the reinforcement ends must have been where I hit. Because I hit pretty hard down there, guys. And you saw it on my first 850 milliamp hour flight where I had the gear off and I did a bad hand launch. But that being said, keep in mind, you do have to get some airspeed on this when you're doing your hand launch. So full throttle, don't mess around, get it in the air. It's super easy to hand launch if you go full throttle. And guess what? If you think you can like save some power, I don't know what I was thinking, and I did it twice. Just give it full power. You'll want it, okay? All right, we answered all the questions and then even more in the unbox, which is coming right now. So stay tuned for that. Please seriously consider when you're gonna buy this thing or another thing like it, because you went to Brian Phillips RC and you sorted by plane type and you found something you liked even more, buy it from the links in the video description below. There should be a link either under the video shortcuts on brianphillipsrc.com or in the video description below when you're watching on YouTube. It helps support us financially and also helps us to increase our performance with the different companies that we work with, so they know that we're sending buyers their direction. Obviously, part of this little RC ecosystem entails that we occasionally sell a product so that they think we're reaching you guys, our wonderful audience, who is super supportive and awesome. And you already knew that, though.
And if you can't find the description because YouTube moved it today for some reason.
Because they keep doing that.
I'm trying to put them pinning a comment that has the links.
Yes.
The comments are always easy to find.
Yes.
Find the pinned comment, then you have to find the description wherever
That's right.
it went today.
So the comment's going to get you the link. Now, if you really want to buy this, but you just can't find the link, we have master links also in our video description. But really the easiest thing to do is just open up the description, find the description, expand it. Should be one of the top links. We'll link to the battery. We'll link to adapters so that you can charge the batteries, because these use IC2 connectors, which are the smaller style. Even though they don't have the data line passing through, they still have data transmission for flight pack voltage, as you can see on the screen. So that's really good. Also, no Avian ESC programming, so you don't have to worry about setting up thrust reverse. But at the same time, you don't have the opportunity to set it up. I would love to have differential thrust, even though we really don't need it. Great rudder authority on this plane. I just think it's mostly cool. So what else? I don't know. Until we start getting retracts, I feel like really the LEDs and flaps, that should be manageable on these small planes. But if you really wanted to add that stuff, you could do it. I know there's a way to do it. I just don't know if there's a will. And the truth is, I used to always add flaps to these planes. And then I started learning, you know what, some of these smaller planes just don't need them. And it's a weird place to be, not needing flaps. Truth is, if you set up the flaperons or spoilerons on this case, you're gonna have a pretty good experience, and it's super fun to play with these things, okay? So hopefully we answered all your questions, guys. If we didn't, leave it in the comments below. We'll do our very best to answer your question there. And if you want to support us in ways other than buying this from the links in the video description below, you can check out our links for Patreon, monthly support, YouTube super thanks, one-time support, PayPal one-time support, and YouTube super thanks, which would be monthly. YouTube members.
Yes.
So that'd be the other monthly option. But really, we still firmly believe in our heart of hearts that the best way you can support the ecosystem of RC and the ecosystem of Brian Phillips RC would be to just buy amazing planes when you like them. And if you don't like this one, wait till the next one, because there's literally planes right around the corner. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. So much more Unbox coming right now. YouTube is Brian Phillips. Brand new. Super excited. We haven't done an early release for a while, so we figured we would get one knocked out I don't think we can release this video for a couple of weeks, so unlike our typical hurry up and get it done, we actually have some time. Oh yes, it looks so good. Oh boy. It's ultra, it's micro, and it's extreme. Oh yeah, the ME262 twin 30mm EDF. I seem to remember a time when I was super excited about a power system, a twin EDF power system, and it looked a little bit like that airplane there. And I said, think of all the amazing things that we could do with a plane that is in this power system. So let's talk about it for a minute. We have twin 30mm EDFs, ultra micro scale jet for intermediate pilots. Okay, that's always scary when it says intermediate. It says two, but that just means it could be a handful. Also, I just want to talk about this before I even take my wheels off, if I do, which I probably won't. Those wheels look like they're going to be nice and detailed, but I got to say jets plus wheels equal a go. So I didn't feel that way on the F-86. I felt like it did a good job of looking good, even with the gear on. But do I want those nacelles to be the first thing that touches the ground? I don't think so. All right, so we're gonna open it without further ado. Lid's coming opened. Oh yes, it looks so gorgeous. We have foam to protect the foam from the foam. As usual, we're just gonna pull this off to the side. Now, as with other UMX boxes, they are large, sometimes unusually large, but I gotta say, this thing is a pretty big plane. And so to be an ultra micro, you would think it's a little smaller, but boy, oh boy, does that thing, that's actually a pretty big plane.
It really is.
And I just was talking about some skids. Look, nice. Check it out. But we already have our first casualty of war.
Oh no.
I know. I'm like, what the heck? So unfortunately, pilot Amigo is loose and evidently he popped off. I think I'm gonna have to get really creative if I can try to fix that. Now, full disclosure, this is an early product sample. You can tell by how beat up the box is. And so what that means for you is you probably won't have that issue, full disclosure, but I'm still gonna show it because that's what we do on Brian Phillips RC. Now, as you know, inside of these boxes, they also include manuals. Look at this. There is literally a stall designed into the foam to hold the manual.
Wow.
That's where we're going. It's just crazy. Also, we have this, which is a little bag, and it's got a small tool and a piece of Velcro. So I'm gonna go ahead and pack this stuff back up. My suggestion to you, and you don't have to follow my suggestion, but on any ultra micro that comes out of the box fully assembled, my suggestion is and will always be keep the box, because these carrying cases work well, especially for the planes that come out of the box fully assembled. That's why we love ultra micros, because they come out of the box, they're ready to rock and roll, and then all you have to do is set up your transmitter of choice, which there's some pretty exciting stuff coming on Airware. I can't wait to share about it, but I'm not gonna share about it yet. Hey, look, it's Brian James.
It is, I noticed that.
So anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and set this thing up with our NX10, but I am actually really looking forward to seeing this. I'm a little annoyed about the dude falling off of his chair. He's kind of off his rocker. And I've got some ideas on how I might be able to fix that. And it includes basically taking out the bottom. So without further ado, I'm just gonna take a seat here and Camera Crew's gonna switch sides. I wanna see how this thing is constructed. It feels very strong. It feels more robust than other ultra micros we've had in the past. And I don't know if it's a density of foam thing. Yeah, so you can tell early product sample. So there's a little scrape on there. So they must have hit some asphalt. We have some squishy tires. There are bushings. What the heck? There's like actual metal bushings on there. But they've got these scale looking tires, but they still have softness to them, which is awesome. And thank you for finally putting an oversized steerable nose gear, okay? That is huge, folks. We've had all sorts of problems with those things over the years. I haven't personally, but a lot of you have. So also the A10 has a twin 30 millimeter. And back in the day, we used to have 28s, and the 28s were extremely loud and obnoxious. These are gonna be better. Okay, so very strong magnetic catch. I just want to show you that. Look how strong that is. I mean, it's really strong. Like, you're not gonna have to worry about that popping off. Although with a battery in there, it might be a little bit more heavy. Also, there is, oh sweet, those gun holes are actual holes.
Yeah.
And so that's gonna help with ventilation. Now, there are vent holes back here. So I'm beginning to think if I had a long, skinny tool, I could possibly pull this back. But since there is a carbon fiber spar here that helps to maintain stiffness and strength, I'll have to deal with that off camera here pretty soon. But we do have an IC, this would be an IC2 plug. An IC2 plug, it does have a data jack, but there's no wire landed, so it's not being used. Ultra micro receiver with the multi ESC board. Of course, those are gonna go out to extension cables to the EDF modules in the fans, which is pretty cool. And they're out on the wingtips. Now we've got an elevator and rudder. I'm touching the rudder. This would be the elevator servo. The elevator is split, so there's two linkages that go back to the split elevator, which is pretty sweet. And as you can see, they're all ball linked. Give them a super close-up shot of my balls.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Got it.
That's just one. Here, show them the other side. You got to get both balls, not just one. Okay, very good. So, initial thoughts, I gotta say, it looks rock solid. Very smooth finish. The decals have a high gloss. I don't like that. But I like this finish. I'm not sure I'm crazy about the livery yet. We'll see how it looks in the air. Sometimes these planes that follow a really scale trim livery will blend into the trees.
Yes.
And so I'm a little bit concerned about that. It does look beautiful. Now, also, this is gonna be using a different size battery if I remember right. And so we're gonna have to look, oh shoot, that FCC warning
I can file that
fell
for
right
you.
off. I don't know, we'll just throw it away for now, put it in the permanent filing cabinet.
Yes.
So our next move is to figure out what type of battery this takes. So obviously, in order to set up the radio, we could use anything with an IC2, okay? Now keep in mind, on the Draco, I believe on the Mini Draco, we had, what did we use on that? I think that had the JST, didn't it?
I think it did.
Yep, and then when did we switch to, yep, so we have a JST, okay? So on that was 4S, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, that was
No,
3S. And then we switched over to this one, the 453, 4S. This is 454S, that was 3S. Okay, yep, that's right. We went to this new size class of 4S 300 with a JST, so that was 4S. That was 4 or 3S capable. Then when we went to the F86, we jumped up to the 450, okay? So full disclosure, I believe we might even have another one going into this, but we're gonna pop open the manual and refresh our memory because our memory's not serving us well, AKA me. So pop this thing, what comes in the manual, there's a sticker like usual. If you didn't remember what brand it was made by, this is an E-flite product, which is Horizon Hobby, the mothership. And if you guys ever want to find a manual, follow the links in the video description below like you were going to buy the plane, and then scroll down, you can find these supplements wherever you need to. Okay, so here we go. Flight battery, 3S 850 milliamp hour, okay? 850 milliamp hour. That's a weird size.
It is a weird size.
And it's 3S. Okay, now I'm not saying that you couldn't have one of those, but chances are it's gonna have an XT30 end, or it's gonna have some other weird random end. So, I believe Spectrum has a new offering, so hold tight. All right, so we're gonna answer 3 questions you're gonna have. You don't know you have them yet, but you'll find out really quick. How much does this plane weigh? Okay, that's a question you probably already knew about. Okay, so I'm gonna put the canopy on and we're gonna measure it empty, right? Empty, okay. It's gonna be kind of awkward to measure, so I wonder if I can, how the heck am I gonna do this? It's big enough that it may not be super easy. So I'm trying to find a way to do this. I'll zero off this thing, okay? So now we've got that zeroed, and I think I can lay this down on there now. Okay, so we've got the scale. showing 205 grams, okay? So obviously we wanna be sub 250, okay? In our case, we've got the pilot that fell off his rocker, so we might have some modifications to do to fix it, but you guys won't have that issue. This is the battery they recommend if you've got landing gear, okay? This is an all new battery from Spectrum. And so for that reason, we always like to lead off with new battery. Okay, new battery, 600 milliamp hour. This one is gonna be 3S, of course. And then this power bundle, we'll go over the next option, okay? So 600 milliamp hour, 50C, 3S, okay? So if you've never opened one of these smart packs, they come out of the gigantic package and they're really well packed. We just like almost never have problems with these batteries because they're really nice. They're also expensive, okay? Now, is this a smart battery? I don't know. I honestly am not sure because this could be and it could not be. I'm really honestly not sure. This is right on the edge of being a smart battery or not, and I'm not sure. So, when I pull all the packaging off, this is what we're left with, okay? So it's a pretty small battery still. It's got an IC2. It is definitely not got a smart lead, which tells me this is a dumb battery. And it's also got a balance lead. That doesn't necessarily give it away because the Gen 1 batteries were also dumb batteries. Or excuse me, they were smart batteries with balance leads, okay? So this can be charged on any plain old charger. So long as you have an adapter to go from the IC2, that stupid Spectrum logo is getting in the way, okay? So we'll link to all this stuff if we think we're gonna need it, because here's the thing. You can't plug this into a standard IC3 or IC5. What we normally have, I like to use the S2200. You could easily use the S155, which is one channel, 55 watts. The S2200 is 200 watts, two channels. And of course, I've already got an adapter similar to this. So if you guys are ordering for the first time one of these batteries and you can't get this because it's sold out or something crazy, obviously follow the link, see if you can find it. Here is the trick of the day if you can't find it. Here's two tricks. One, I used motor windings, or not motor windings, but motor plugs that I had from other projects, okay? And that will allow you to make your own adapter, but you have to be careful so that you don't have any short circuit, okay? So that would be if things are out of stock, you can do this and find the right size drum connector to actually slide it out. Or actually that's a banana jack, sorry, banana jack. Okay, then in my case, I have that hooked up to just an IC3, which will get me in the door, okay? So then just carefully disconnect. In my case, I've got the adapters. Now the other thing too is if your charger uses something like an XT60 or whatever, then you can use those same things. Now, this also works nice if you have to build adapters, but I don't like doing adapters that way because they don't have that positive hold that you would get from the case, the plastic portion of the connector, okay? So in this case, that'll allow us to charge. So let's go ahead and charge this one right now while we're talking. So 600 milliamp hour, we'll go ahead and populate the data on the screen here, 3.8 volts as shipped. Plug it in, click this. Since this is not a smart pack, you do have to scroll in the value. So this is gonna be 0.6 amps would be 1C. It automatically knows it's 3S and then we can start. It's gonna charge that thing and that should be fine. Now, the other thing you can do is you can go for a power stage bundle, okay? So this is a power stage bundle. It's got the charger and the battery. This is the other size they recommend. And so we'll of course lead to this. This will be a new bundle offering so that you can get into the correct size. If you don't have a charger already, then this would get you started if you wanna buy this so that you can be almost ready to fly there. Because even though the plane is ready to fly, you need a charger to charge the thing. And I'm just gonna tell you right now, this is a smart battery. How do we know? Because it is a smart lead with the gray wire. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut off my warning. This warning simply states you have to use a smart charger, okay? So the smart charger, and this also comes with an adapter, okay? So this adapter will go like that. This does carry the data line through, by the way. Okay, so this is not compatible. I don't know that there's an EC2. I never saw an EC2. I know there's an EC3 and EC5, but I don't remember ever seeing an EC2. This would be the EC2 would be compatible with like the XT. It'd be in the compatible size class to the XT30. Unfortunately, the XT30 and the IC do not mesh up together, whereas the EC3 and EC5s, as well as the IC3 and IC5s, will stick into their corresponding XTs, okay? If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll get there, guys. So inside this power bundle, so you got the cable, you've got the battery, and then you've got this, and I thought I was done with the knife, but I guess I'm not. This is going to be the other way you can do it. Now, if you've ever gotten a ready-to-fly airplane from Horizon Hobby, then you're gonna actually have access to one of these chargers from previous use, okay? So that's an S120, which means 20 watts, one charger, okay? All right, so then this comes with the USB flat A to C, okay? So we have an A to C. So this is gonna go into our charger, all right? And then you're gonna take this little adapter, which goes, this is an IC3 connector, so that's the more conventional size, kind of the middle ground. This goes up to 3S because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 pins, so a ground plus positive, 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 right? In this case, this is a 3S pack. And so of course this is gonna plug in there, but I'm just gonna get this garbage out of the way for now. And what we need to have is just the run-of-the-mill AC adapter, okay? Something like this or like this will do, nothing special or fancy. I'll go for white so they agree on colors. And then we'll plug this into this wall outlet. And we have a white light that comes up. Now, once you get that white light turned on, you're gonna see, you can plug this in, and it's gonna change the condition of the light to indicate what the condition of the battery is. So it starts doing a slow flash, okay? Now the slow flash is one of the indicators. If you wanna know what that charger's doing, there is a manual here that talks about different LiPos. One of the best parts of this manual is right here, all the way across the top. They show just do a slow scan across this. If people wanna know what type of battery connector it is, stop so that they can pause. Okay, do the other side. This is one of the best help aids that we have found because battery connectors are weird and there are a lot of them, okay? That's a good manual. So if you need to go back and pause, we get it, no big deal. Do that and enjoy, okay? And then what is this? Thanks for your purchase. This just talks about warranty stuff. So we'll put this aside and we'll come right back. All right, so you could use the bundle pack or you should be able to just order this battery eventually. Now, I'm not saying it's immediately available, but we'll try to have links in the video description so you can order what you think you need, okay? If you don't have an 850 milliamp hour battery, because it's not the first or last time somebody's gonna have like a 1300, I'm assuming a 1300 would probably fit in an application like that. That's a pretty standard size, okay? We've got lots of different 1300s that we've used in the past. I would like to say that it'll work, but I don't know for a fact. The other thing too, is if you have two 450s, problem is these are 4S, then you'll have to put your pieces together to make it work. I just know the way it is when these things first come out, they're popular, people struggle to get the batteries, and I know what it's like, I've been there before. All right, so the S122 is working. When it's done, it'll change the condition of the light. It'll go to like pink or something like that. I don't really care. I'm not gonna use this charger, but I do need the battery, okay? So if you're brand new to the hobby or you're brand new to UMX, you don't have to buy all the goodies necessarily separately, but there is an offering, okay? So this is the XBC 100 Smart Checker. And so that is a good way to test. And if you don't have one of those smart battery chargers, you can also press and hold and you can go in and change. See, storage voltage on a Gen 2 is gonna be 3.9. Auto storage, you can change that here. If you wanna go less or more, I always set them to like the max, which is bad. I mean, it's harder on the batteries, admittedly, but you can turn it off as well. So this is the auto discharge. I set them to 240 hours. And then once you're done, then this will, it's not actually charging. You can go back over here and charge, or you can take this over. I'll show you on the S155 as opposed to the S220. Guys, chargers are one of those things, it's like buying tires in my opinion. I want a charger that I don't have to mess with. That's the beauty of a Gen 2 smart battery. You set it, you forget it, you don't have to mess with it ever again unless you decide you want to change the timing. Now over here, this is not a smart battery, so we don't have to set the auto discharge time, but we also don't have the benefit of the auto discharge, okay? So there's one other size class, and I believe it was this one that was a 450 pack. That was the smallest smart pack that we've had to date, and that was in 3S. So if you've got that 450, you could use that, but just keep in mind, you're gonna need 2 of them, and so I'm not sure exactly how that's gonna work. Now, back in the day, we also had these 850s. Okay, so these 850s are also smart batteries, okay? So we had that, and I'm trying to remember what plane we used them in. It was a helicopter. Wasn't it a helicopter? Yeah, it was a helicopter. I think it was a helicopter. So it was a real small heli. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get those things charged up, and we're gonna come right back and talk about weight. All right, so we got 2 sizes of batteries that are recommended for this plane. Why? We talked about weight earlier, and this is important. So as you can see, 0 grams, we've already weighed it. We're at about 204, 205 grams, somewhere in there, okay? So if we put an 850 on there, I just wanna point out the fact that you're gonna be 276 plus or minus a gram. You know, let's do 260, 277 grams, okay? So that's obviously gonna be not sub 250, right? So what happens when you use a 600? Well, you're at 205 grams, so now you're 259 grams. Okay, so what does that mean? That means you have to lose your landing gear or something else that's important to you to get this to be sub 250. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that it's sub 250 by taking off the landing gear. These landing gear have a release mechanism here, which I like. You can press that down, and while that's pressed, you can slip these things forward, okay? So once you press it down, you can slide them forward. I like that you actually can press that, by the way, because some of these planes you can't press, and it's kind of scary to pull the gear out. In fact, I always hate to pull the gear out on these planes. I'm gonna press with my thumb, and I'm gonna pull down on this nose gear. Okay, so when you go to take this off, you have to kind of separate this first. So I'm gonna use my thumb. I'm supporting this with my thumb so that it doesn't pull out the spinny part. I'm gonna pull this forward very carefully, okay? Then I can pull this down. That comes out real easy. Okay, so we'll lay that there. Then this is gonna snap out, right? It pulls out pretty easy, but there's just a little clip. Pulling them at the same time might cause problems, so be careful about that. Now, the mains, we've already started one of them, but I just wanted that nose gear out of the way. Okay, so I'm just gonna try to slide this forward if I can get the dang thing to go. I'm just always super nervous to do this on a brand new plane, folks. Okay, so pushing it forward, I'm using my thumbnail to force that wire forward. Now that I've got it pushed forward a little bit more, I'm gonna slide it forward even more, and then I'm probably gonna have to push down that tab again. Not the easiest thing I've ever done. Also, the gear door has to be separated first. That would explain my problem, okay? This comes off first, okay? Note that it's pointed forward as it was installed, okay? I bet that's gonna make it considerably easier to pull out. Okay, all right, so here it is. Pop it off, pull it straight out. Real easy now. Now, it should be easy to pop this landing gear out. I'm gonna push down with my middle fingernail, and then just slip forward, and then pull forward again, and then it just kind of rocks out if you're careful, okay? So I'm laying these together. They might be the same. Nope, they're not the same. They're opposite, see? So they are not the same, which makes sense. It stands to reason because one's folded in, one's folded out, okay? Or one's folded to the right, one's folded to the left. All right, so there you have it. And those skid plates make it seem like this would maybe actually work on a regular belly landing application because these feel sturdier than any other nacelle we've felt in a while. Okay, so put that down now. We're 185 grams. Now we're up to 238 with the 600, okay? So you're sub 250 with the 600 and you're probably gonna be right on the edge. 257. Oh man, so disgusting, so dang close. Just out of curiosity, guys, I'm not saying that you would have to do this or that you should do this. No, those are gonna be just too dang small. I wanna see, obviously a 1300 is gonna put you way over, okay? So at this point, you're pretty much stuck with either 3S 600 milliamp hour, which I'm gonna plug back in right now and get started. Okay, so that's the option if you wanna go sub 250. The next option would be to go with 850 and that's gonna put you over. So at that point, the landing gear could be on there or not. And it really doesn't make a difference at that point because you're already over the sub 250. And by the way, the landing gear door, just to talk about the gear door are only 4 grams, okay? 4 grams is dangerously close to working with the gear still on.
If you just lose the door.
So I wonder if you lost the pilot, if the pilot would save that weight. I mean, our pilot's already tried to jump out, so it's tempting. But I might take a minute and look at this off camera, see if I can come up with a solution. We'll come right back. All right, so 2 different sizes of paper clips. You've seen a million of them, okay? I took and straightened both of them out. This one here being the thicker one, this one being the thinner, smaller one, like that. And I left a bend in this one. Gives you plenty of reach to get in there. I'm kind of assuming you guys aren't gonna have the same problem, so I kind of hate to share this as though it's like a normal aspect of this Messerschmitt 262. I don't think it is. I think, and see, I'm holding just the very tip of it. I'm holding just the very, very little tip of it. You see that?
No.
So as you can see, I'm holding the tip of it. You might want to leave a little bit less unfolded there, or a little bit more unfolded. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to walk it through this vent hole in the back of the canopy. And see, it looks like it's China glue that's holding that. It's hard to tell. I would use Formula 506, I think it's called. You know what? I'm just gonna hold it with my fingers, see if I can get this a little better. This smaller wire, there's 2 holes. There's one here and one here. So I'm gonna see if I can, maybe if I get lucky. I might have a little bit too much bent. Yeah, I got just a little bit too much bent. So what I'll do is I'll take and straighten this. Now guys, this is a typical Brian Phillips RC tangent here. We're gonna go way off topic here and deal with a problem that most of you won't have, but this is kind of what we do on our channel is we show the real situation that we work through on a particular given aircraft. Now, for some of you, that might be a little obnoxious because, you know, like, hey, not everybody is gonna deal with this, I get it. You know, it's kind of like when we do flaperons on a plane that like not everybody's gonna want flaperons on. We don't do it to annoy you, it's just mostly we're trying to show our real experience. Now also, you're not gonna get a product development sample, you're gonna get like a real one that's gone through quality assurance and stuff. Ours went through quality assurance and they got flown 1,000,000 times and crashed or whatever they did with it, okay? So this, now I'm thinking if I can just get that guy tipped up, it might stick back down. I don't know if that's true. I'm gonna just do a little minor hook and then these little twists are where I'm having trouble. So I'm gonna go to the flat spot where there's not grooves on the plier portion and try to take some of that out. Okay. Now we'll see if we can get in there and do this. I feel like I'm building, you know those ships that people build inside of bottles? That's what I feel like we're doing here.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, yeah. Our unboxes are actually longer than it takes to build those. I'm just wondering if I had 2, you suppose I could get 2 of them? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna ever be worse off than the way we got it, you know what I mean? Unless I rip this out, which, ooh.
Ooh, there.
Just nobody say anything. Somebody knock on wood for me, please. I'm gonna hold this guy like that. I'm gonna go in the other direction. See if I can catch the front edge of the figurine. Yeah, I have to go the other way. We'll go back to this thinner one. The thinner one seems to do a little better job. It's a little easier to manipulate through the hole. There's just like a little bit more slack on the size. Come on now, don't you be falling backward. Ooh. Okay, so now that I've got that started, I can use the second one because there are 2 holes. I didn't make these holes, but I mean, you could, I guess, if yours didn't have them. That'd be weird. Guarantee yours has them. They always do that so they keep the canopy from getting all fogged over, or at least as quick to fog over in temperature change, which happens usually at evening flights we see. That's when we do a lot of our filming, by the way. Oh yeah, so get back down there. Look at that, folks. Oh, no you don't. Don't you dare fall. I think it's stuck on the glue that was so helpful that it didn't even do anything.
You just push them forward like that?
That's what I'm trying to do now. Okay, so I got him. A little vibration maybe. No, not quite enough. Ooh, the pilot looks nice. Pretty sweet. Okay, so now that I've got the pilot back on its pedestal or whatever that is, I gotta try to push him down to see if that contact adhesive will hold him. So guys, hopefully you're not having to deal with this. Like I said, this is product development sample, so they already used it for some testing operations. I'm not sure exactly what all goes into that. It depends on the model, but I've just gotten like a nice swoop on there. So I'll just kind of carry this in. Brian Phillips RC, we're all about showing you our real world experience, then also teaching you some tricks and tips. And obviously it's not like rocket science what we're doing here, so we don't mean to insult anybody's intelligence. I'm sure you would have figured it out if you had a similar condition, but sometimes it's nice to just see what other people did and see what failed, so that you can avoid those points of failure. Now, it's pretty much staying. So I don't know if it's gonna continue to stay, but I can tell you this. I'm not making any bets on this guy staying put because he's just sitting there chilling. Okay?
We'll see.
See guys, nothing wrong. Didn't take any extra effort. All right, we're gonna clean up from that and come right back. All right, so now that we've figured out the legalities, which nobody wants to have to worry about, it is what it is. I've got this 850 that we used in a previous application. It's not fully charged, but it has some Velcro on it already. Again, I'll probably make my strap that I like to do, the strap loop. But for now, we'll just go ahead and plop this in here and we'll see how it fits. Oh yeah, it's an easy fit, nothing too fantastic. Now, I gotta say, that is kind of feeling a little bit tight because of what? The Velcro. I hate putting Velcro on batteries. Okay, so now that that's in there, I'm not like super thrilled with the fitment. I just feel like it's a little bit vulnerable. But then how are we doing on this? We got lots of room up here. So I don't think that's gonna be a problem. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the Unbox build radio setup as usual on this. That leaves us at radio setup now. We know that the bigger battery fits, but we don't know if it's CG's out. So do we talk about CG? The CG is somewhere in here.
There it is.
44 millimeters from the front edge, plus or minus 4. So it's basically 36, oh wait, plus or minus 4 would be 40 to 48.
40 to 48, yep.
Yep, 40 to 48, and probably a black tip marker. I know you guys are gonna be disgusted when I do this because there is a certain amount of disgust that we all share, the fact that I mark my wings like this. But given that there's such a wide range of battery sizes, I hate to do that, but I'm actually gonna mark the underside of this 3S 600 through 850, okay?
Okay.
So the reason I do that is because I have a hard time remembering because we have so many planes. And especially on ultra micros, because it's a long time between when we fly those. All right, so I'm gonna go 40 millimeters back. Okay. And that is from the inboard portion of where the wing meets the fuse. So I wanna line this up and slide out just a hair. Make a little bump. Line this up, square with the fuse, bring it out, and make a little mark, okay? So now I'm just gonna mark that. So that's 40, so that'd be the front. And then we're gonna go out to 48. So you guys, those of you guys that are brand new to Brian Phillips RC, this is the way we do things. We just kind of go through the entire painstaking process. And sometimes it's more painstaking than others. I would say this is probably the most work we've ever, well, in recent history at least, done on a UMX. UMX Ultra Micro Extremes from E-flite are some of the best hobby grade micro performances that you're going to get. Now that's not to say that you can't get a better plane. There are better planes, but they're bigger, they're more expensive, they take more expensive batteries, and many times they're not going to be legal to fly without a remote ID or flying inside of a FRIA, which of course that's what most people are going to end up doing anyway. Flying in a FRIA, you don't have to worry about that, or just break the rules. We don't care. We don't work for the FAA. You don't know us a dang thing. Do whatever you wish, but I just want to make sure you understand. If you're sub 250, it does greatly simplify things. If you're flying at a local park or whatever for recreation, it should be pretty much the easiest thing to do. So most people are going to want to be sub 250 just to avoid the hassle of potentially having the Gestapo come and ask for papers. All right, so we have to set up radio setup, but in order to do that, I want to know where the CG balances with this battery. So I'm going to go ahead and plop this cable. I'm going to plug it in, something I normally wouldn't do, but it's hard to do on an IC2. Oh, I love that. So cool. So load the nose in, drop this down. It goes into auto bind process, so I'm not binding it. I just want to see how this holds down the cable, and it does all right. I just stuck it straight on the strap, and you can see those 2 center of gravity marks, and that's going to give me a way to measure where we actually balance. Okay. So right now we're on the back hole, okay, or just slightly in front. So to be honest with you, I feel like that'd be a fair starting point, is right in the center with the gear off. I'm still illegal currently because I've got the bigger battery. But since we're going to do radio setup, you see this red-green flash like the cops are coming? That should remind you. I'm just kidding about that. But then that fast flash means that that's an orange light. That means it's in bind, okay? So what we need to do is we'll go ahead and just until we're ready to bind, we'll unplug. But we're within the range, so if we chose to start there, we could start there. We are, full disclosure, I think we're gonna start our flights on 600 milliamps just to show how it'd be legal, and then we'll show how it'd be illegal or with a remote ID or inside of a FRIA, and then we'll show it with landing gear, and that way you've kind of got the whole approach. Because when you get into this gray area where you can easily break the rules and, you know, maybe do it accidentally, we want to help you guys to avoid that if that's your game, or excuse me, if that's your aim. We know most of you are probably not going to care, and that's fine. Like, we're not trying to convince you one way or the other. We really don't care.
We just want you to know the options.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so right here we've got the NX series transmitter setup, the DX series transmitter setup, and the IX series transmitter setup. Of course, in our case, we're using an NX10. So we're gonna be looking at this, okay? We do have a pull count of 8 for the motor. So that's always good. And then also, this is just gonna give you all the steps in order of how to set it up. Now, we are gonna deviate on the expo portion of this. That is gonna be a highly subjective area. They suggest low rates at 70 with an expo of 5, and then a high rate of 100 with an expo of 10. We're gonna generally do on a 3-position switch, we're gonna have a 5%, then 10%, then 20% expo, dropping the rates to 90%, but always maintaining 100%, 100%, then 90% for rates. Tied to one switch, keep it simple, give yourself the ability to double or half your basic setting, okay? That's what we always do. So without further ado, we're gonna build a new model. I'm getting dangerously close to running out of room on airwear in my NX10. If I run out of room on this model, we're gonna see how it blows up and smokes. So canceling back, add new model, click, we're gonna create an acro. You can follow along on these steps if you want. Camera crew, show them that if you're curious about it. This is pretty basic stuff. Yeah, there's nothing special here. Throttle cut, okay. So we'll come back to that if we need it, but since it's pretty useless, helpless information, we'll be able to do it without any help. Now, also, while we're waiting for mine to create, by the way, yours will do it faster because you don't have 260 in there or whatever. We're probably cheating, but I bet the airwear is unsophisticated enough to not check the actual number and instead checks the number that has been assigned.
That it's been assigned.
So we'll just keep renumbering our models so we can have more and more and more. Also, by the way, I have a memory stick in here, or memory card, I would say. This is micro. It's like 1 terabyte or something. Oh no, it's not 1 terabyte. How big is that? It's pretty dang close. It's huge.
It is pretty big.
It's huge. So I don't understand. I don't know.
Maybe it's just using that instead.
It's not a terabyte, is it? It's
No,
gonna be like
I don't think
gigabyte.
so.
I don't know. It's a ton. It's a lot of memory. You're never going to use it up. So this came in the package. So you've got that Velcro. If you don't have Velcro already applied to your battery, I'm going to show you next after we're done with the radio setup how to make that little strap that we use. But I'm always torn because I like to have 2 different sizes so that I can use the 2 different sizes in this plane. And I like to leave it around the battery. So let's say I've got 6 of these 850s. Then I would have 1 strap that I can carry from one battery to the next. And let's say I have 1 of the 600s. Well, then maybe in that case, I'll just apply the Velcro if I don't intend to have more than 1 of those batteries. The strap method allows me to reuse and then leave it inside of the plane. Or leave it on the battery, put it in my battery storage so when I go from plane to plane to plane. Because in our case, many times what we do is we take these ultra micros and we will put them in the box and store them in the box. So they're not necessarily displayed for everybody to see, except for maybe an exception like that Mini Draco, which is technically not a UMX. So, right. All right, so now that this is done starting, we'll go ahead and get going. You'll hear lots of beeping and hissing over there. That's because our batteries are getting complete as we talk. So model select, we just came from there. Model type, we've already set that acro. Model name, this is where we scroll in the value. And the value for this is gonna be the Messerschmitt. It's gonna be the ME262 UMX. So we're gonna scroll that in and come right back. All right, so we've got the ME262 Twin 30 UMX. Okay, so we'll go back. Whoops, accidentally hit back twice. Go back down to system setup, disconnect RF and continue. Aircraft type, we already did. Flight mode, I don't know if we need flight mode because usually safe is assigned to like the gear switch. And so safe in AS3X gets really simple. But again, that's one of those things that you would think would be listed right here, but it's kind of not. They've gone to this new transmitter setup and it's just, I don't know. It's very basic, but the problem is it doesn't really answer all your questions in one spot, so I'm not super thrilled with it. That's why you have Brian Phillips RC. Will help you get all set up every time. I think for now, do you want me to do the flight mode setup? It's not really that big a deal. You don't have to do it this way, but I'll go ahead and set it up. We've gotten away from using the A switch for gear to do safe on off because I am so like muscle memory. I pull gear up even though I don't have gear. I push gear down when I'm landing. It's just like, and then I accidentally turn safe on. Yeah, so it gets weird. Okay, so switch D. Spoken flight mode. This is where you can set up your flight mode response. It will say it as you flip the switch. You can also do it as an active switch event if you want, an audio event that would be attached to a switch. So in this case, I want to change this. So I'm going to highlight the first character, cancel, cancel, and then I'm going to scroll in. AS3X is what I'm going to set to the top switch. Remember, this is just a label. It's not actually changing the system. But this way I'll have both a visual feedback on the screen, then I'll have an audible feedback so that nobody has a question. I may not be able to do off on this one, and we'll talk about that later, but let me type and we'll come back. So AS3X, and then we can scroll all the way down to about here. You can make your favorites, but I don't use favorites for a reason, because I could build a template and do 90% of a radio setup on one template, okay? The reason we don't do that is because most people that are watching this are doing it because they need some help. And so if I, okay, so now this one's gonna be off. Most people are not following along with a video like this because they wanna know how my template's set up, okay? So because of that, you'll notice that I scroll from like the factory position. One of the only things that I do that's unusual is this legacy keyboard. I do not like the new keyboard. If you don't like that, you can do it from system setup and you can change it yourself. Okay, now remember, this is off. I may not be able to do, but I still set the switch in the middle to off because I want to have AS3X off. Where is that one?
Keep going.
And I want to have safe on the bottom. And then this one is going to be safe, which cancel, cancel, S. Sensor assisted flight envelope is what that stands for. So this would be like auto leveling, which we'll talk about here in a little bit as well. If you don't know what safe is the tool that will help you learn to fly and save a lot of money on crashed airplanes, but it's also going to be a crutch that you'll probably struggle to get rid of when you're brand new to the hobby. And the thing that you guys have that I didn't from 10 years ago is safe on almost every single model that comes out, which is super nice. There's safe mode. We did not have that. Okay, so this will be displayed and this will be spoken. Okay, so now back, channel assign. I usually reserve B for my flaps, but there are no flaps on this. As you can see, there's no flaps. It's just aileron, elevator, rudder, and steerable nose gear is tied to the rudder, of course, and then throttle. Now, I don't know if we have differential thrust yet. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that works out. If we do, that might complicate things just a little bit, but that's fine. For now, we'll leave the right mode. I'm gonna set this actually, aux 1 is already on D. That's probably gonna end up being A, I'm assuming, but we'll leave it here for now. I only deselect that because I don't wanna actuate this when I'm going to do flaps that don't exist, okay? If that makes sense. Gear we're probably not gonna be using, but gear will be assigned more than likely to flight mode. Except I don't want that switch to do that. So we'll figure that out in a minute. We'll come back. Okay, so walking out, the first thing we see is a timer. We see AS3X, off, and safe. Remember, that doesn't set anything. It's just a label for you to read and hear, okay? So the first thing I'm gonna do is do rates and expo. I'm gonna turn this to switch F. We talked about this briefly earlier. I'm gonna do 5. This is a deviation from the manual. They suggest slightly different setup. 5, 10, and then 20. And then I drop my rates down to 90%. Now that's what I do for all these. So I start here. If I want a little bit more, I've got a softer stick. If I want a little bit less, I want a little bit more sensitivity, I can go here. But either way, it kind of gets me back to the ground, and then I make an adjustment from there. Okay, so excuse me, I'm gonna exercise the switch F, acknowledge that by clicking, and then I'm gonna go to 5, then to 10, then to 20. And if I don't say it out loud, you can see when it gets dark, I'm using it to edit, and when it's light, I'm not, okay? Okay. So on this, I know.
Okay.
So then I'm gonna put this to 90. Okay, all right, good. So there we go. And then we're gonna do rudder, and rudder's gonna be on switch F as well. And some of you are probably thinking, you got all those switches, why do you tie them together? The reason I tie them together is because in my experience, a plane is going to tend to need major adjustments, not minor adjustments, on maiden flights. When you see me flying, it's probably a maiden, okay? I usually almost always fly in this middle setting. So Expo 10 rates 100% on almost any AS3X equipped plane. That doesn't mean that there aren't occasions where I'll go a little bit higher, but it's generally when I don't have AS3X and safe available that I would use more Expo and less rates, okay? But I don't like limiting myself to rates, except for, and this is a good thing to do, in servo setup, travel, ailerons, I'm dropping them down to 95. On elevator, I'm dropping it down to 95. On rudder, I'm dropping it to 95. And I know some of you are thinking, but that's gonna really limit the way your plane flies. That's true. I don't like giving up throw. But if you wanna come up here close and show them those long linear, those long throw linear servos are historically bad for what happens is this thing corkscrews out and it gets to going so fast that it'll overshoot and then it gets bound up. If you put it to 95, you'll almost never have that problem. I have had it happen a number of times. I've gotten away from setting that, but I always forget about it. And then somebody gives me a complaint and I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry I didn't mention that. 95%, 97%, 99%. I mean, whatever percentage basis makes you comfortable. You're not gonna miss, in most circumstances, that 4 or 5%, okay? But I can tell you this, you will miss having complete control of your elevator. Now your rudder, to be honest with you, maybe you don't give that up at all. Maybe you just leave that at 100. And if it gets stuck, you just fly it, okay? But I don't know that it's gonna be a big issue. We'll find out on this plane. Some planes, I've had pretty good luck. I haven't been setting it lately, but some of you guys have complained. It is kind of a luck of the draw thing. If you had 100 units, I bet one of them might have a stick someday. You know, it also depends on how you fly. If you fly scale like I do, you're not gonna have huge issues. If you do a lot of 3D stuff, you might run into issues, okay? All right, or you're more likely to run into issues. So now throttle cut, we're gonna turn this on to switch H, so highlight, and then exercise the switch. Now we look down here to verify it is definitely working. You can see that it's not changing as I move because I have my throttle cut on, which the switch H is pulled toward me. Now I turn that back away from me, and you can see that it's working in the monitor down below. So I'm gonna turn throttle cut back on. I'm gonna verify everything should be good. Now, we are basically ready at this point to bind, but I'm gonna set a timer. We should have smart data on pack voltage and all that, but let's just go ahead and set a timer.
They do recommend 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay, so 1 out, anything over 25 starts, 25% on the throttle stick. I want a 1 minute of voice warning. At 20 seconds, nothing. At 10 seconds, I want a voice. Countdown at expiration, I want tone and vibrate with a tone every minute thereafter. Also, keep in mind, since we have telemetry and we'll have pack voltage, I believe we will, you'll be able to get all sorts of goodies. We'll show you that here in a minute after we're done binding. So I'm gonna highlight bind, I'm gonna leave this down. I'm gonna pull the plane toward me. I'm gonna secure the plane in case it would go full bore. It's never done it. In all the years we've been doing this, we've never had it one time do it, but I have had 2 or 3 times back when they used to have weird throttle cuts at -130. You would get this like mismatch. It was weird. We've thankfully gotten away from that. Okay, so plug in the battery, wait for things to initiate. It's gonna go into a bind mode automatically when it doesn't sense a connection, this red and green, excuse me, red and blue. That's actually bind mode flashing. Okay, so I'm gonna go to bind. I'm gonna be prepared to secure the plane just in case binding. There we go. Now, the blue light's on, that means it's locked into one of the settings or the other, and then it switches to the other setting. It's saying the smart battery is not charged for flying. One of the most annoying warnings. You might want this warning. I'm gonna cancel out of it, I'm gonna click, I'm gonna immediately scroll down to telemetry, and I'm gonna change that. Smart battery. I do not want an alarm if I have lower. I want it off, inhibit it. And I want overcharged, I definitely don't care about that. And imbalance, I couldn't care less. So now those are all off. The smart ESC, it's a total cells is 3. The poles are 8. They told us that in the manual, we noticed it, so I'll set it, okay? I have no idea what the rest of the crap is. Does it say in the manual? Probably, let's look. Okay, so it says telemetry settings, 4.2, low voltage alarm 3.4. Okay, so that's already on, and they have it as a tone. I could just make it a voice. We'll see what that says. Voice and vibrate now. And I don't really know if I care, so the start up low, I'm not leaving that, that's annoying. Okay, so we should be good there. Okay. So now, what we can do is we can scroll over to the right. See, the receiver voltage is at 4.2. That's kind of weird. Huh. Why did that get set to 4.2? Min max, that's strange. Okay, so we can see our voltage. We can see a status bar. Now, I told you this wasn't charged, okay? So it's actually low right now. We've charged a bunch of other ones, but this one just happened to have Velcro, so we started with that one for the setup. But yeah, you can see all that. You can see the FET, the FET temperature, okay, which is kind of cool. Where is the FET? Which one's the FET? I'm feeling, I wonder if I could warm it up with my finger. I can't warm it up with my finger, evidently. Oh, it's right there. But either way, you get the idea. It's pretty cool to have that telemetry. And also, just in looking at this, I don't see anything for Avian ESC setup, which is not uncommon historically on UMX planes. We don't generally have access to that. But it would be cool if we did, because we could do potentially thrust reverse, although I don't think we're gonna need thrust reverse on this plane. It's possible we might. If you're belly landing and you still need thrust reverse, you're doing something weird. But with wheels up, wheels down, and not having flaps, they're generally pretty easy to land in smaller spaces because it is an ultra micro. That generally isn't a big issue, okay? There's times when I would love to have thrust reverse, like on the Draco Micro, would be really cool to have that. I don't think wait, we did have it. Did we? I can't remember.
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. So anyway, getting back to the point, so that gets us all set. We shouldn't need to do anything else with the exception of maybe the battery strap. So let's talk about batteries real quick. Obviously we have, we're gonna talk about safe now. Elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right. That's not moving. Why is that not moving? Okay, y'all left, y'all right. Now it's moving. That's always a good sign. So the first thing I need to do is I need to go over and verify that this thing is pushed all the way in. Oh, we're in safe right now too. Okay, so hold on. Let me put this canopy back on. Canopy's going back on our cockpit area. It's not just a canopy. It's like the whole thing.
The whole top.
Okay, so I'm gonna plop this back down in here. I'm trying to figure out if there's like a really creative way we can get this wire to fit nicely in here so we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we do this. It has a long lead on it, which we complained about on another plane recently. So I'm actually glad that there's a longer lead. Oh, that went way better. Okay, so now, wait, hold on.
No.
It was this one?
Yep. Still that one.
Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up in here and double check. I see 4 servos. It's working now. Wait.
It was not.
What the heck? Well, we're gonna see what's going on with that. Luckily, it's a redundant surface, so if it doesn't work, you're gonna notice the roll rate's gonna change. All right, so we have the gear switch down. When I pull the gear switch, come back over here. When I pull the gear switch toward me, we have AS3X and safe off because we've never given throttle. When I have the gear switch back, it starts working, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throttle cut off. I'm gonna give some throttle. Definitely, okay? I'll show you by not trying to blow over the box, but you can see the plane. Camera crew's gonna feel it. Okay, so we definitely have some good thrust. It's got a little bit of screech at the beginning, but it's not too bad. Definitely see the ailerons working now. I don't know what the heck is going on with that. I can see the rudder, I can see the elevator. Everything is obviously working. We're in safe. Now we're out of safe, and we still have the AS3X working. So keep in mind, product development sample. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this. We're gonna lay it like that. I'm out of safe now. Elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, roll left, roll right. Okay, so everything's fine there. Y'all left, y'all right. So now I'm gonna click. I'm gonna scroll down to forward programming, see if we have anything. Throttle cut is now on, throttle stick is down. It's connecting to the forward programming, I believe, or it's attempting to at least. Connection failed. So that means we don't have forward programming. So that means the middle setting is not gonna matter. So I'm gonna scroll down. You remember how I wanted to, whoa, look at that, that's fancy. I'm gonna go back to system setup, disconnect RF. I'm gonna scroll down to channel assign. See how it says gear is on switch A? I want that to either be flight mode or switch D, okay? So aux 1, I don't care about that, so I'm gonna inhibit that. Now I'm gonna make the assignment to either switch D or click and scroll all the way to flight mode, okay? Either of which are gonna make that work now, okay? Okay, stick down and out. See how it changed conditions? So that's safe. That's AS3X, and that'll be AS3X, okay? So really what I need to do now is I need to go into system setup, disconnect RF. And so instead of doing the channel assign the way I did it, where F mode is in charge, I'm just gonna set it to switch D. It'll be a lot easier to do this. Then I can go sticks down and out. So now I need to flip. I need to reverse the gear channel. Not D, but the gear channel, okay? So now what that means is AS3X is on. Now safe is on. So really the only thing that's a lie is the off. So what I could do is I can go back down to system setup, disconnect RF, and I can go to flight mode. Then I can go in here, whoops, excuse me, flight mode, spoken flight mode. So in this setting, it's not actually off, it's also AS3X. So it's probably helpful given the fact that this is a little bit different than what we usually do. I'm gonna go ahead and set this up. So AS3X. Because there's not really a way for me to turn it off without getting super complicated, and I don't really care to turn it off. I only show that step because many times we can set that to an off setting. That's usually in a bind and fly setup, by the way. Okay, so where is that? Did I go past?
AS3X.
There it is.
There it is.
Okay, so we have AS3X, AS3X, and safe. Okay.
AS3X mode, AS3X mode, safe mode.
How do you tell? Move your sticks down and out.
AS3X mode, AS3X.
Okay, very good. Throttle cuts on. No activity from that. No activity from that. Okay?
Okay.
So we're in a situation where we should be able to fly. We've got full telemetry set up. So we can see exactly what our voltage is. And there we are. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. We had 2 noteworthy problems on this plane. It's unusual that we have noteworthy problems, but I just want to reiterate something. When we get these early product development samples, sometimes they've seen a little wear and tear. And I hope that's all that's happening here. But all I've got to say is this plane looks sweet and I'm dying to fly and it's calm. And so we're gonna go do it right now. I just gotta swap out batteries and we hope that we answered all your questions you needed to answer about this. Like I said, I'm just visually, you don't have to do this step, but I am gonna do this step. I'm just looking at the rudder and it's gonna be harder for you guys to see this, but as I rock, you can see it's working against the movement. The elevator seems like a weird angle, but that's on purpose. So you can see it's working against the movement. And then the ailerons might be a little easier to see. We'll watch this one and go up, go down, go up, go up, go down. So what I'm looking for is the AS3X working. It's gonna resist the movement that's not caused by the sticks, okay? So up, left, right, okay? You can also take your hand and put it on the surface and feel the movement. It's very easy to feel. It's not always easy to see. Yep. And I don't know what the heck is going on with this one. Was it this one? Mm-hmm. Okay, guys, because we care about your experience, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a dot. I'm gonna use a red marker, and this red marker is gonna be my reminder, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna hide this red mark right here. Or wait, can I put a question mark on it? Yes. So we have a question mark on the servo. That'll remind me to look at it as we fly, and if I notice a noticeable change, okay? But at this point, what I'm more concerned about is noticing how awesome this looks in the air, because I love these little EDFs and I love when they're small enough to be sub 250. Now, with the 850, you're not sub 250, so just be careful. I'm pretty sure the FAA is not going around with a little scale in their breast pocket, but if they are, you might want to avoid those people. Anyway, all right, guys, so you got everything you need to know. The UMX Messerschmitt 262 Twin 30 EDF, all new from E-flite, looks amazing. Can't wait to fly this. We hope we answered all your questions. Hopefully the flight went as good or better than we expect, because to be honest, the unbox went kind of pretty crappy, I think. Because we have a servo that acted up on us and we had a pilot that wanted to jump out the back of the plane. So we'll see.
We'll see.
But anyway, that's what we do on Brian Phillips RC. If you want to help support us, the best way you can do it is buy amazing planes when you see them. Keep in mind, yours is going to be brand new and not a used test unit. So your box is going to be in better shape and your plane will hopefully not have those 2 issues we had. But at the end of the day, using the 95% throws on the servos does help from our experience with the long linear throw servos and finding those weird stick points. Incidentally, that's not what we're seeing on this questionable servo. What we were seeing is absent activity regardless. Okay, so it's different. When you see that end stroke, it'll stick. The control surface will actually get stuck, like usually beyond its normal throw. It's like when you're in a high G maneuver, I've had it happen. I think I had it happen on the P-51 Voodoo UMX. Not the newer one that was painted in the Warbird livery, which by the way, they're the exact same plane. The Voodoo one stuck, but I was able to unstick it and then just kept flying, and I have largely forgot about it. But when I see a weird symptom like that, it kind of reminds me of it. So we bring these things to your attention because we want to maximize your positive experience without covering, you know, for a manufacturer that maybe has like a flaw that needs to be resolved. Because at the end of the day, we do work with the manufacturers to try to resolve issues when we see them. And they do ask us about what our experiences were when we have problems like that, so we can give them some constructive criticism. Because at the end of the day, we love these products. It's rare that we have issues with UMXs. It almost never happens. The issues that I have with UMXs are I crash them into trees and stuff. So avoid trees. Keep in mind, this is going to be a really good hobby grade experience. It's going to be one of the better experiences. It's not going to be, you know, like the 400 millimeter Warbirds, you know, like you get this Waco. It's going to fly like you got a 1.5 meter Waco. Or it's going to fly like, if you get the pits, it's going to fly like the 1.4 meter pits that you could also buy. And that's the beauty of these ultra micros. Sometimes you sacrifice a little bit on features because you may not have an LED set where you would on a bigger one. Maybe you don't have inboard flaps like you would on a bigger one. Maybe the landing gear aren't retracts like you would on a bigger one, but the thing is it's gonna fly very good, okay? So make no mistake, just because this is small doesn't mean it's a toy grade experience, which we do toy grade stuff all the time on this channel. Case in point, this helicopter, one of the most popular videos we've done in a long time. That MD 500 is a beautiful scale helicopter. It's still toy grade flight experience in my opinion, but it's still fun. It's still really cool. Now, that's not to take anything away from toy grade experiences because they're considerably cheaper, okay? So you understand there's always a time and a place for everybody in your RC experience. And what we want to do is we want to speak to the idea that you might not be in the time and place for this kind of investment. If you're not, we're going to help get you there. Okay. Also, if we have some systemic issue with the aileron servos, we want you guys to be aware of it. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's a fluke, but either way, I'd rather have it on the elevator than on, I'd rather have it on the aileron than on the elevator because that's a redundant surface. Also, I did notice differential in this setting. So if you look right here, there's differential. We didn't check to see if we could do flaperons. I know there's like another setup that people have done in the past. It's a stick configuration. I don't think you can just set up the wing type. In fact, we need to answer that question right now. So some people are gonna ask, can you set up flaperons? I don't know. System setup, disconnect RF, aircraft type, the wing type. If I go to flaperons, and then I walk back out, then the ailerons are still working, okay? Then I would go to flap system. I would make a switch selection to B. And then what I would do is I would just basically pull my switch. You see how they're moving both ways? That tells you that it's not gonna work because even though the ailerons are still working, they're both going the same way. You guys see what just happened there? So now the other way that people did it, so I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna mix this back. I'm gonna go back to system setup, disconnect RF, and I'm gonna go down to aircraft type. I'm gonna change this back to dual aileron. No, we'll just go to normal, okay? So then we've got movement there, and then there's no activity here attached to switch B, so that helps confirm our theory. There was one other way that people were doing it, and I forget how. It was on the UMX Crescendo. I might have to go back and look at that real quick. There might be a way to force it. I'll check on it and come right back. All right, so this is something, I've only done this, I think, one time, and it's basically, we're tricking the receiver into working. It doesn't always work, so we're gonna try it. So sticks down and up, and then on and off for safe. So in my case, here to here. See, the elevator just changed its position, okay? So what that tells me, I am wondering if we did actually have a change. So now what I need to do is go back down to system setup, disconnect RF. Well, yeah, let's go back down to system setup, disconnect RF. Yes. Channel assign. I want to change one of these to just another switch. Let's just set it to switch B and see if we see any change, okay? Haha. You see? Up, together. See? Up together, down together, down together, up together, okay? So if you really want to unlock the spoilerons or flaperons, that's one way you can do it, okay? So now we still have roll. In the middle setting, we're neutral, and then on this setting, we're spoilerons, okay? Now, depending on your taste, that can help you fly, or you can then go into system setup, and we might be able to just change it to flaperons straight up. Aircraft type, normal, let's go to flaperons, and then we'll make our assignment under channel assign. Why does it not let me change to B? Oh, because I've already disassociated that, okay? So now we have a regular. See how only one side's working? See that? But the other side's not, okay? So what I can do is I can go to flap system, set it to switch B, and then I can make my maneuvers here. So there's 100. See, it's not gonna work because you can't use the normal flaperon setup. Okay, so clear that. Scroll back down to system setup, disconnect RF, jump back in to aircraft type. Now, whoops, I think we could do dual ailerons or normal, but I'm gonna just go back to normal because I know that'll for sure work. And if we go to channel assign, you can see I have aux 1 set to B, okay? So what we'll have to do is we'll have to make a mix to make that do the way we want, okay? So now you can see in the middle, it's neutral. On the top, it's spoilerons. Then it's just like nothing changed, okay? Then it's spoilerons, then it's flaperons. So what I'm gonna do is I'll go into mixing, or digital switch setup would be easier. So I'll go to switch B. I want my normal setting. You can also overdrive it, I think. No, it doesn't look like it's gonna overdrive. See how it's changing slowly back to neutral as I scroll this? Those are coming back level, okay? So I want this setting all the way forward to be my normal flight mode, so I'm gonna set that to 0. Okay, now this will be a little bit different on different radio systems, I get it, but that's fine. Now takeoff flaps, I would set to 100, okay? And because they set up differential, this is only gonna droop a little teeny bit. And then for landing flaps, if you wanna have spoilerons, you could do that. So you have spoilerons for landing flaps, I guess. So you got your takeoff flaps and then you've got your landing flaps. Yeah, not so much. So what you could do then is I wonder if you could go into mixing and you could make a normal input, which would be based on either the switch or aux 1. So in this case, I'll do aux 1 and then I'll figure this out. I'll come right back and show you what I did. Okay, I figured it out, guys. I forgot, we don't set up flaperons, we set up one aileron, one flap. So if you scroll down to system setup, you click into the system setup, disconnect RF, scroll down to aircraft type, and instead of having it set to normal, you set it to one aileron, one flap, okay? Now, why do you do that? Because technically the flight controller still thinks it's just a regular flap setup, okay? The reason I figured this out is because if you go over to flaperons, you have nothing but problems. But if you do dual ailerons, you can actually set up the differential to work opposing what the flight controller set up, which is kind of interesting. So anyway, so I went to one aileron, one flap. Okay, once you do the sticks all the way out and up, okay, opposite one another like this, and then you toggle between your safe and AS3X like 5 times or 10 times or whatever it takes, you'll see a noticeable difference in throw, okay? So now we're basically working. Here's our normal movements. Everything's fine. And then what you'll do is you'll scroll down to flap system. Plus you can take advantage of the slow action, which is really nice. I still have one other thing I want to do. But if you look here, so when I click take off flaps, now landing flaps, okay? So the trouble with that is slow and slow, slow and slow. But you see how it acted fast? So there's definitely something it doesn't like about that. But see, now when I'm at fast, you don't see that weird behavior. But here's the thing too. If you go negative, you get lots of flaperon action. Why? Because they have differential set up in here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this to 0, 50, and 100. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the speed. I'm gonna hope it's gonna give me the speed, but I'm guessing there's gonna be some conflict because when it gets past a certain range, it goes fast. So under the takeoff flaps, it's normal, but then it jumps when you go to the second setting. And this is what I'm gonna do now. Is differential in here? I don't know if differential is gonna show up because we don't show. So what we have to do is we have to go into system setup, disconnect RF, go to aircraft type, scroll back over to dual ailerons, and just hear me out for a second. Now we're gonna exit. Now we can have access to this setting. Okay, this setting is available. Differential. Now watch this, guys. I'm gonna turn it on and watch this position. Okay, so I'm just moving the sticks. I'm in my neutral, like normal flight mode, so I don't have anything going with flaps. You see only one of them works right now. That's okay, because we're in dual flaps right now. Now watch this. If I turn this all the way up, see, now they're both moving. If I clear it and go to all the way down, watch what happens. Okay, so it's doing weird stuff, but at least we know they're both working, okay? So then the takeoff flaps are not associated properly at this point, but watch this. So I did that negative 100, I left it on. Now I'm gonna trick it and go back to system setup, disconnect RF, scroll down to aircraft type, and then go back over to one flap, one aileron. I wanna see if that did any change. So now we have takeoff flaps, we have landing flaps, but it's fast acting. We still definitely have movement, right? But you can see it's not happy about it because of the differential, okay? So you see how we did that? Now I'm not saying that solved it, but it is something you can try, you can play with if you get into an aircraft type that activates that part of the menu. So I'm gonna go back to dual ailerons. I'm gonna walk back into the differential screen and I'm gonna make that either switchable, I'll make it switchable so it's tied to only switch B, okay? I don't want it to be on there. I don't want it to be on here necessarily, but I do want it to be on here. So it's only gonna be on in that top setting. Okay, so now I can walk back out. So just to be clear, I don't know if you guys saw what I did there, but all I did was I said I want it to be true when the switch is down here, because then it's gonna do the weirdness, right? Well, when I'm here, it's just gonna operate normal. When it's here, it's gonna operate normal. Remember, we're in the dual aileron setup. And then here, it's gonna tie them back together, okay? Now I'm gonna go back down to system setup, disconnect RF, and I'm gonna jump back into aircraft type. I'm gonna switch back over to one aileron, one flap. Now I've got elevator, I've got ailerons that function properly. We've got differential as normal. Then I've got takeoff flaps. We have normal, okay? And then I got landing flaps. And you're gonna lose a lot of your roll authority, but you're also drooped further. So now that allows us the next thing to do, which is a mix. And this is the mix where I can go in here and play with my settings to get those things to droop more. So you see how they're not moving? See how they are moving? They're moving up. So we wanna go this way. Okay, but you see how it stopped? I don't know why. And I gotta figure that out. So I'll come back when I figure it out. All right, guys, I figured it out. The reason that they're not going down very far when I was setting up flaperons is because they're literally maxed out on the throw. I don't know why I didn't think of that. But now that I know that, that makes it a lot easier because I'm not chasing my tail trying to get a mix to do it. Sorry I missed that, guys. So takeoff flaps, I'm gonna set up as spoilerons. Landing flaps, I'm gonna set up as more spoilerons. So it makes it super easy because spoilerons, of course, go up and still operate as ailerons. Takeoff flaps, you're probably not gonna use, admittedly, because why would you wanna do spoilers for normal launch? It wouldn't be very helpful, but anyway, we'll have them. Now, that means that we need to do an opposite elevator correction, so I'm gonna exaggerate. That needs to be going up, not down, okay? Because it's an outboard aileron. And so I'm gonna go pretty light on my correction. We'll do like 10, and then for this one, I'm gonna do like 20. Yeah, let's do 18, not 20. Let's do 18. It always seems like it's like a 2/3 sort of game. Okay, so 10 and 18. But I wanna see that go up. And what that will hopefully do is, because we're belly landing, we now have the ability to, okay, now let's check all of our surfaces now that we're doing stupid stuff, okay? We have elevator up, elevator down. We have roll left, or excuse me, yaw left, yaw right. Which incidentally, I can also check my nose gear. Yep, that's working. See it's moving? Okay, very good. Then I'm gonna roll left, roll right. That's in my normal mode, normal flight. Now Spoileron setting 1, elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right. Everything's working there. Full landing Spoileron setting, roll left, roll right. Everything's still rolling the same way. All the controls are working. Now, we gotta check AS3X in all of those modes. Checking to go up, it goes up, it goes down. I'm holding it so I can feel it. Up, down, up, left, right. So we're good on that. Now in takeoff mode, up, down, okay, up, down, up, left, right. Okay, so everything feels good. Now normal flight mode, up, down. So I'm just feeling with my fingers, I want it to go up when I lift this wing. Up, yep, down, yep. The down is much less than the up. Up, yep, yep. Okay, so everything's working there. Now we'll go to safe. This middle setting is the same. It's the exact same setting. It doesn't know any better. Okay, now AS3X and safe, auto correct. Okay, so we're trying to find the quickest route to level. That's quick. Okay, now quicker this way. Okay, now looking at the elevator, up, level, level. Okay, rudder's not going to have any action there. But while safe is on, we're still going to check our surfaces. Up, yep. Up, yep. Up, yep. Left or right, yep. Now, takeoff flaps, spoilerons, landing spoilerons. Up, yep, up, yep, up, yep. Left and right. And the middle, up, 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 and up. So all I'm doing is just putting my hand on there. Camera crew, put your hand on there. When I roll this plane, can you feel it? Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying up, I want to feel that go up into my fingers, okay? All right, great. Now we've tested all the systems. We've added flaperons. So just to reiterate, all you have to do is sticks down and away from each other. So I don't want to do it again, but I'm going to, you hold them like that while holding them. In my case, I set it to switch D. If you left it stock, it'd be the switch A for gear. You would just toggle safe, AS3X over and over again until you hear an audible change. Like you'll know that it changed, okay? Once that happens, then all you have to do is go down to System Setup, disconnect RF, scroll down to your aircraft type and change the wing type to one aileron, one flap, and then set it up as you desire. Yes, you can have a little bit of droop, and I say this, you can also set the mechanical length of these levers, or these linkages, so that you could actually bring the flaperons down. If you decided to do that, your neutral position will probably need to rechange, okay? So you'll actually set your neutral position to like a negative value, mechanically change it neutral, then you're gonna have your takeoff flaps will go down a little bit, and then your landing flaps will go down even more. So you'll be able to emulate that if you want. But I tend to think that on this, being the way it's gonna land, the belly lander status and all that, when you're not using the gear, it's probably gonna be fine with flaperons used as spoilerons will probably be fine, okay? That being said, it might be a huge waste of time, but we like to show everything. Now, also, I just wanna go full circle. You remember when we had that problem with the servo? I haven't seen it since. I don't know what the heck happened. I wonder if one of our connectors was loose, because when I pressed them here and I pressed them here. I haven't seen it since. And I've been playing with this like crazy for a long time, like an hour. So hopefully we answered all your questions, a little bit more than you wanted to know, and we helped to convince you that this thing is awesome. I haven't seen it fly yet, but I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to fly it. Obviously the flaps are gonna be an additional thing that aren't included out of the box. You have to turn it on. We're gonna show you exactly how to do it. We just did. All right, that's what we do on Brian Phillips RC. We think of all the things that you guys are gonna ask for. We try to deliver on the first go around as often as we can. We don't always hit the mark, but generally we try very hard to do that. And if you wanna help support us and reward us for our efforts, all you have to do is buy these things from the links in the video description below. It doesn't cost you a penny more. And then we get small commissions from the manufacturer to help pay for our time, which is really nice, and it works out well. Also, I love RC. That's why we invest like pretty much everything that we get out of this YouTube channel back into this aerodrome that we're building right now. If you guys didn't already know, we're building an aerodrome. That's how we have a pond in the backyard. because we needed a dam so that we could build a crosswind strip, which is about 110 degrees off of our main strip, which is about 30 degrees off of the road. But the road is like 1,220 feet long and it's got a crown on it. So it's like, I don't like that crown. Get rid of the crown. We're just gonna make our own runway. So we did. Out here, it's about 275 feet long. We're gonna extend that. There's gonna be a helipad at the end, and then there's gonna be a road that connects the two so that we have a crosswind strip and we have our main strip out front. Also, what that's gonna do is that's gonna bring us back to our full scale hangar, which is over there. We're actually taking bids right now on 2 different types of building, both steel span, because we wanna have a single span. We don't want any vertical supports, because that way you can pull the full scale airplanes in so that later we can fly off of the full scale strip back there. Yes, this is all happening in real life for Brian Phillips RC. And so we wanna follow, if you wanna follow along, all you have to do is click the bell for notifications when you subscribe to Brian Phillips RC, if for nothing else, to watch us miserably fail. But the truth is, so far we haven't, and we haven't because we've got great support from our viewers just like you on Brian Phillips RC. And remember, we tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help us God on Brian Phillips RC. Even though we really like E-flite, we really like Horizon, it's one of our best brands. We like them the best of pretty much anybody else that we review for. There's still problems from time to time, and we show them in live and in person, okay? Hopefully the flaperons don't put this thing to rest, because the truth is I don't think it's probably gonna need them, but I really like features and I really don't like having to unlock them. It's annoying to me. So Horizon, if you're listening, we really enjoy your products. But the thing is, just give us a regular setup, for God's sake. It's so much easier if you would just allow us to do a dual aileron setup. I mean, for God's sake, we have 2 ailerons here. Or a flaperon. If we could just set up the flaperons using the flaperon menu, it would drastically reduce the complexity of these settings. Wasn't too bad today with the sticks down and out, but that would be the type of thing you'd maybe throw in the manual. Now that I say that out loud, I realize I never checked to see if it was in the manual. Maybe it is in the manual. Kind of doubt it. So with that being said, we're here for you, the audience, and not necessarily to mimic the marketing talking points of any of the brands we work with, because at the end of the day, it's all about having a real good RC experience. That being said, some of the best you're gonna find are gonna be in the E-flite lineup, okay? You're gonna get the best bang for your buck. You're gonna get the bind and fly, which is really nice. You're gonna get AS3X and safe on virtually every product that you get right now. And it's gonna pair up nicely with Spectrum, because Spectrum is owned by the same, they're all Horizon Hobby, so it's really nice. They generally work and play nicely together, but they're also DSMX, which that means you don't have platform issues. Now, if you're using some other third party, if you're using a Radio Link or some sort of an open TX, then generally you can connect to these and you can do a lot of the stuff. Now, I know some of you are thinking that right now and you're thinking, hey, can I use my Radio Link? Whatever, sure, you can, but just keep in mind, if you don't have that protocol support for DSMX, you'll have to get that. Sometimes that means you have to get a module, so just make sure you have your module. But on these Ultra Micros, it makes it even easier because you aren't dependent on the forward programming like you might be on, I'm trying to think of an example, like the T28. Mm-hmm. The T28, which by the way is on sale right now if you're watching this timely. I believe.
The Super Timber.
Or the Super Timber.
Or the Timber SWS.
Timber SWS, that's right. It does make it a little simpler, but I believe they also have some plugins you can install and use that to do the forward programming. So that being said, a couple of complaints about this already. Like I said, the colors might blend with our trees.
Yeah.
Badly. I mean, is it a scale model? Is it a replica that's designed to be a warbird? Yes. Does that mean those things don't blend with the clouds? No, they do. So I love warbirds. I love them in their native finish. I want to look at them and have them look real.
Yeah.
So is that a complaint and a compliment at the same time? Yes, it is. I haven't seen it yet in living like out there next to the trees, but since we're reviewing this in the middle of summer, I'm hoping that the poppy color and the bright sun will help make that not a problem. Secondly, we have done a 262 before and it was a Dynam. It was terrible. And actually, it was one of the few Dynams that wasn't terrible. It was a terrible build.
It was
but the thing is,
terrible for a Dynam.
I am dying for a 262 that's good. And so please be good. Please be good. Fingers crossed. Also, the weight issues on this, it's disappointing to be so close on an 850 milliamp 3S and still miss the mark by just a few grams. That's a bummer. I'm sure they were bummed about it too. That being said, we're gonna fly them in both styles. We're gonna use the 850 milliamp hour here, which is the new one right here. We're also gonna use this 600 just to refresh your memory. The 600 is gonna be legal, sub 250, and then the 850s are going to be FRIA required or remote ID. Keep in mind the remote ID module is very light. You can also steal power from many of these types of connectors. I believe our remote ID module will let you steal power from one of these X bus connectors here. These things are just more pins than the standard connectors. You can also Y off of those, or you could just straight up use a small battery if you want to try to be compliant, which I don't know why you would care, but if you do care, we don't want to poo-poo anybody trying to be compliant with the rules. Because at the end of the day, the biggest thing we see is to avoid manned aircraft. If you can fly outside of, you know, like busy areas, that's usually a good idea. But that's one of the reasons why the UMXs are so nice, is that you can technically do it legally in schoolyards and stuff like that, like we all used to before. And so that's one thing to keep in mind. And the biggest thing is just don't piss off people. If people are being Karens, you're probably never gonna win that battle, just remember that. But the truth is, the vast majority of people in America think this sort of thing is cool, okay? And then that small minority, we just gotta try to, you know, I don't know why society bows to these people, but we do. And so just try not to annoy them, and we'll keep happy lives for all of us that love RC, okay? All right, enough about that. Flight's coming next for us in real life, but you guys already saw it at the beginning. Hopefully we answered all the questions a little bit more. If you have more, leave them in the comments below. We'll do our best to get to them. Thanks, special thanks to our YouTube members and our Patreon members. You help make all this happen on a monthly basis. If you want to become one, we have links down below. Also, PayPal for one-time donations, which would be kind of like opposite Patreon if you don't like Patreon, and I don't blame you if you don't. And then we also have YouTube Super Thanks, which would be like one-time donations if you don't want to do the YouTube monthly membership, okay? If you're ever curious about the fee structure and how that works and how much of your dollars that you donate get to us, we can tell you about it more. The most expensive is the YouTube stuff. The least expensive is PayPal, friends and family. I know for me, that would be an important part, but we only bring it up because people have asked for years for us to bring it up. And we were just processing a payment today from Patreon, and it just reminded me. We really appreciate you guys. It does help keep the lights on. So that's good, even though we have solar. So thanks for keeping the sun bright. Secondarily, if you really want to support us, the best thing you can do is watch the videos, smash the like button, and then buy planes when you do like them. We understand you're not going to like every plane. Not every plane is going to be for everybody, and not every plane is going to be as good as you want it to be. And we don't want you to buy what you don't love, okay? But the truth is, if you can't love this, there's plenty of other awesome choices. Or maybe you're in the mood for a new transmitter, which, by the way, there's some really cool stuff coming right around the corner. I'm still gonna stick to this 10 for a while, and it's gonna be amazing. I can't wait to get my fingers on the IX, or excuse me, not the NX. I actually want the NX20 because it's got a bigger screen, and I like the NX because it closely mimics the older legacy stuff that a lot of people are still using. The DX, I have a DX18 still. I haven't touched it in years, but I love this. The DX10 and the NX10 has been amazing. Okay, really, really like it. I'm almost out of model memory. Maybe when I run out, I'll jump up to the NX20 so we have a bigger screen. Not sure yet, but if you guys are IXers, you're probably gonna be more sophisticated users anyway. You may not need as much help, but the guys that are just getting the hobby are gonna tend to be NX. That's why we lean toward the NX. We don't mean to poo-poo anybody who's got the IX. They're a great platform. Even better than this, but it's just not for us just quite yet. Hold your breath. We're coming for you. But that being said, we hope we answered everything. Camera crew, did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
All right, so center of gravity worked out good. I think on this 600, we're gonna be golden. We'll just talk about that real quick before we actually wrap things up finally, because we did talk about making our tape thing. We didn't make the tape thing. And so if you guys wanna follow along on this little step, it might be something that not everybody's gonna do, because most of you are just gonna slap that Velcro on that comes with this plane, and that's fine. But this is something that I was promised to show because it is important to me. This is a charged one, this is uncharged. I actually I gotta hook this up to charge it because I wanna have this battery ready when we're ready to fly, because I got a bunch of batteries that size, which is awesome. So this is the Velcro that they provide. This Velcro comes in like every UMX package that you get, okay? So it's very basic. It's just half of it. It doesn't come with both sides. And my objective is I want to be able to center the battery wherever I want and maximize my opportunity to get that square, okay? Now you can use other types of hook and loop or Velcro, but that's up to you. If you know for sure you're going to use this battery in this plane, my suggestion would be just Velcro it, okay? It's going to be very simple to do. Also, I just want to point out that this lead is long enough and this lead is long enough that you can put it either direction in this plane. That's not always true in every plane, okay? So we point that out for a reason. Secondly, I expect that we're probably going to fly on 850s more often because we're going to fly so that we're legal in FRIA, okay? This one you can fly without being in a FRIA, which is kind of handy. So we're going to build our little pack for this. So I take just regular run-of-the-mill, nothing special, tape, okay? Now there's two ways you could do this. You could go this way, but then you're going to be allowed to slide, okay? Because you know it's going to be trapped side to side. You might go this way, lengthwise on this particular battery, okay? And now some of you are probably thinking, why are you doing all this work? Just put the stinking Velcro on there and be done. Yes, I agree. I get it. I understand what you're saying, but that's not what I'm going to do today because I have done this a number of times and it's worked well. It's served my interest. It will gain you probably, like half a gram. So if you're really riding the gnat's tail, you may not want to add any weight at all. Okay, so I just went around backward. So now the sticky side is out, okay? So I want to make this so that it's, smooth enough that I can slide it off and I can slip it off, but it's still got enough pressure that it's going to hold it down, okay? Then I take my tape and I go one more layer. I try to do it as close to one layer as possible. And I just stick this down underneath these wires, okay? Now remember, this isn't a smart pack. This is a smart pack. It's got the smart circuit right there. This one doesn't have that, so it weighs a little bit less. That's why you don't gain any more milliamp hours than you think you do, or than you do, okay? So I'm gonna go just a tiny bit past. Okay, this reminds me of when one of our competitors used scissors to cut the end off of a battery when it was still live.
Oh, that doesn't
They went like this.
Seem like a very good plan.
Well, you gotta understand the technology before you start taking scissors to them, guys. If you ever have to cut the lead on a battery, you cut the lead one wire at a time. It's not really that hard. But basic understandings of electronics and electronic principles are not going to be for everybody through osmosis, and that's part of the reason why we have this channel. If you are one of those people that would take scissors to your battery and you would feel a little bit embarrassed after you did it, we're here to help you and not just make fun of you. Although if you do that, we'll probably make fun of you a little bit, okay? Because that's pretty dumb.
Are you gonna cut that in?
I was thinking about it, camera crew. That's a good question, but the truth is, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably just put that down like that, okay? Because I wanna see how this fits. Because the truth is, you may have known this about Brian Phillips RC and his tendency toward hoarding status, because I have other pieces in my repertoire.
Yes.
Right there, okay? So we'll build another one that's gonna be bigger for this as well. But I just wanna show you, now that that's in there, notwithstanding the fact that you're gonna get some retention from the top of this, I'm just gonna go over my couch here and just, I'm not like, obviously don't wanna break the plane, so I'm being careful, but that didn't come out, it didn't move, it didn't shift, okay? Beautiful, very simple. Now, if I get a second one of these batteries, all I have to do is slide this off to the side, okay? And it just slides off. And if you do it square, pretty easy. And then I leave this in the model or I leave it on the battery, whichever is more convenient. So in this case, I know this one's gonna be used for this battery. And all I have to do is just slip that on and get it slid on. Once it's slid on, then we're golden. And then I can get this slid back. And you see my Velcro's kind of walked to the edge. So the easier thing to do would be to probably try to center that. You see how I centered the tape there, camera crew? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's what we're gonna do. Now, you don't have to do this by any means. There are more than one ways to skin this cat, but I don't know why you'd be skinning cats. Cats are cute. Okay, all right, there it is. By the way, if you have a cat and you get it when it's little and you let the kids handle it every day, you will teach the cat that it is a dog and it will act like a dog for the rest of its life.
I don't know where you went.
That's what we've done to all our cats. All right, so as you can see, also the added benefit of this, you could put a voltage alarm, which you don't need because you'd have triple redundancy then because you've got telemetry in so many different ways on this plane that you probably don't need that. Okay, so because of the nature of the identical setup for this, I'm not gonna bore you with doing it. You've seen everything you need to see and then a little bit more. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we leave no stone unturned because I don't know how to shut up. And just meet me in person, you'll find out it's the way I am all the time. So that being said, we appreciate you being patient with Brian Phillips RC because we do long format content for a reason. Everybody else does shorts you can watch while you're pooping, and that's great, but if you poop this long, you might need to see a proctologist and get some adjustments made to your junk because you're probably gonna get hurt. Don't sit on the toilet for 4 hours, it's dangerous. Words of wisdom from Brian Phillips RC. As usual, we have so much literally right around that corner, and we can't wait to share it with you. So we hope you'll click the bell for notifications when you do subscribe so you can see it all with us as it unfolds. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. So much more right around the corner. Come back for more.